My childhood sweetheart was the first to react, and he even slapped me across the face, threatening to make my life hell if I dared to snitch. In my past life, I pleaded desperately and fought tooth and nail to save them, notifying every parent to guard their children's college entrance exams. In the end, the entire class got into good universities, and my childhood sweetheart was admitted to Tsinghua University. Yet, he pushed me off the third floor and said, "It's all your fault. If we had all turned in blank papers with Cora, she wouldn't have left, reborn with the memory of a gruesome death." I uttered only a single word: "Fine, if you're all so eager to die, I won't stop you. You hand in blank papers, and I'll enjoy the show. In this lifetime, I will watch with my own eyes as you ruin your own lives with your own hands." The excruciating pain, like shattering bones, remained seared into the very tips of my nerves. The wind roared past my ears as my body went weightless, plummeting straight down from the third floor. I will never forget, for the rest of my life, who it was that pushed me. It was Tristan, my childhood friend, the boy I grew up with, shared meals and an umbrella with, the one I'd protected for over a decade. He pinned me against the railing and, with all his might, shoved me over the edge. His eyes were bloodshot, his tone venomous, as if he were killing his sworn enemy. "It's all your fault, Vesper. If you hadn't stuck your nose in and snitched, if we'd all just handed in blank papers with Cora, she wouldn't have blocked us, she wouldn't have disappeared. You destroyed her, and you destroyed me." The moment my body slammed into the concrete, blood gushed from the back of my head, and my vision began to blur. Only 3 words remained in my mind: "I am filled with regret. I regret being so foolish in my past life, foolish enough to believe all hearts were made of flesh, foolish enough to think my sincere pleas could make them turn back. I regret treating Tristan as family, yet he saw me as nothing but a stumbling block in the path to his cherished one. I regret even more that I risked my life to save their college entrance exams. In the end, I was cast into hell by the very people I had once saved with my own hands. Before the blood clouded my vision, the last thing I saw was the pale, sickly daylight at the horizon, and then, an endless darkness. "Vesper, what are you spacing out for?" Cora is crying her eyes out, and you can't even offer a single word of comfort. A sharp, familiar sound stabbed into my ears, my whole body jolted, and my eyes snapped open. What greeted my eyes was the familiar, yellowed ceiling of the senior year classroom. The fluorescent lights were a bit harsh, the desk was piled high with test papers and study materials, and the air carried the mingled scent of chalk dust and old books. In the top right corner of the blackboard, a line of characters written in red paint stunned my eyes. "Only 1 day left until the college entrance exams." I froze in my seat, my whole body as if turned to ice. The person standing at the lectern, her eyes were rimmed with red, tears clung to her lashes, and her chin was tilted up slightly, the very picture of someone who had suffered a grave injustice, as if the whole world had wronged her. It was Cora, the most popular girl in our class. She was also the one who had the whole class wrapped around her finger, and who ultimately drove me to my breaking point. Did I just get a second chance at life? I was back to the day before the college entrance exam. I was back to this very day, the day she incited the whole class to hand in blank papers to get back at our homeroom teacher. I pinched my own thigh hard. A sharp, unmistakable pain shot through me. This was no dream. I had truly returned, bearing the memories of my brutal death in my past life. The scene before my eyes was exactly as I remembered it. Just a few minutes ago, Cora broke school rules by sneaking her phone into class. She was caught red-handed by her homeroom teacher, looking down and playing with it during the lesson. The teacher meant well, worried it would affect her college entrance exams, and scolded her in front of everyone. Though the tone was a bit harsh, she completely lost it on the spot. They threw a full-blown tantrum right there on the podium, playing the victim and emotionally blackmailing the entire class. The homeroom teacher is totally out to get me. It's just a phone. What gives him the right to call me out in front of everyone? Don't I have any dignity? Wiping away her tears, her voice was a strange mix of softness and venom. Her gaze swept over every single person in the class, like she was picking out obedient dogs. "The college entrance exam is tomorrow. Our entire class will hand in blank papers. Let the school see what he's driven his students to. Get him disciplined, make him resign, teach him a lesson he'll never forget." Hand in a blank paper. 3 words, like a cold, venomous snake, slithered through my ear and into my mind. A chill instantly ran through my entire body. It was this very sentence, it was this very scene, it was these very people. That's what began my hell in the previous life. Instinctively, I looked at the person beside me, Tristan, my childhood friend. He was the perennial top student in our grade, handsome, a great basketball player, the secret crush of many girls. Yet in his entire life, all his reason and principles were reserved for Cora. The moment Cora finished speaking, he slammed his hand on the table with a sharp crack, sending the pens on it jumping into the air. "Cora is right. The homeroom teacher has gone too far. Let's hand in blank papers to teach him a lesson." He was the first to stand up and join in. His eyes burned with a fanatical gleam, like a believer beholding a god, like a madman seeing fire. The classroom instantly erupted. "Yeah, hand in a blank paper. Bring it on. If he dares to bully our class belle, he'll pay for it. We all hand In blank papers, anyone who writes is a traitor. For Cora, it's worth it. A bunch of teenagers, 17 or 18 years old, blinded by emotion, addled by desire. They don't even consider the most basic common sense. They gamble away years of hard study, their entire future, all for the sake of pride, to go and suck up to the class beauty who does nothing but cry and stir up trouble. In my previous life, it was at this very moment that I stepped forward. Back then, I was still naive. I still thought everyone was just acting on impulse, and that if I reasoned with them, they'd come to their senses. My voice trembled with urgency as I shot to my feet, my palms slick with sweat. Don't be fools, the college entrance exam is a life-changing event. Handing in a blank paper only ruins your own future, not the teachers. It's really not worth it. My intentions were genuine and for their own good, but in their eyes, I'm just an outsider, a complete buzzkill. It's pure jealousy towards Cora. Tristan was the first to turn and look at me. That look in his eyes, not a trace of childhood camaraderie remained. There's not a shred of the affection that should come from growing up together, only disgust, contempt, and revulsion. Vesper, who are you trying to fool with this act of kindness? He took a step forward, looking down at me from his height, his tone bitingly cruel. You're just jealous that Cora is prettier, more popular, and more likable than you. You're deliberately picking a fight with her. I was completely stunned in that moment. I was just trying to appeal to reason. How did it turn into jealousy? I didn't even get a chance to explain. Smack, a sharp, vicious slap. It slammed right into my face. Half my face went instantly numb. Searing pain shot straight to the crown of my head. A loud ringing filled my ears, drowning out all other sound. Tristan wasn't finished after beating me up. He stared at me, his gaze as cold and menacing as tempered ice, and threatened me, enunciating each word slowly. I'm warning you. Tomorrow, for the college entrance exam, you must hand in a blank paper. If you dare to snitch, if you dare to disobey, if you dare to write a single word, I'll make you wish you were dead. Behind him, several of Cora's lackeys immediately closed in. The boys kicked my legs, the girls shoved my shoulders, their fingernails digging into my arms. Traitor, Jinx, you just have to be the odd one out, don't you? Not only did you refuse to help Cora, but you held us back. Disgusting. I was shoved to the ground. My arms and knees were scraped raw, my uniform was covered in dust, my hair was a mess, and I was trembling all over from the pain, but I still got back up. I took advantage of the chaos to run out. I found my homeroom teacher, then the grade level head, contacting each parent one by one. That night, all the parents had gone mad. They were all glued to their children's sides, watching like hawks to make sure no one handed in a blank paper. The national college entrance exam was the next day. No one dared to actually submit a blank exam. Nearly the entire class achieved their personal best scores. Some were accepted into top-tier 985 universities, others into prestigious 211 institutions. Tristan scored 710 points and was admitted to Tsinghua University. Then there was Cora, stubborn to the bitter end. She really did hand in a blank exam paper. On the day the results came out, she watched as all her classmates got into university, while her own future was a complete blank. She broke down and wept on the spot. You're all ganging up on me. You're all lying to me, making me take the fall alone. I'm done with all of you. She blocked the entire class on the spot, packed up her things and vanished without a trace. As for Tristan, held the Tsinghua University acceptance letter without a shred of joy. He blamed me for everything. Cora leaving, all the bad luck, the whole mess. He confronted me. It was in the third-floor hallway of the academic building. There was no warning. He shoved me right over the edge. This is all your fault. If you hadn't snitched, if we'd all handed in blank papers with Cora, she never would have left. You destroyed her, and you destroyed me too. That was the end of my previous life, killed by the very person I saved. Vesper, I'm talking to you. Are you even listening? Tristan's impatient voice yanked me back to reality. He frowned, glaring at me with a look of utter disgust, as if I were something filthy. Cora is this upset, and you don't have a single thing to say. What is your problem? The other students chimed in, agreeing. How heartless. She always seemed so kind, but she bailed when it mattered most. Maybe she's planning to sneak off to university and leave us behind. How selfish, only thinking of yourself. Moral blackmail, blind conformity, a bunch of mindless sheep. In my past life, I tried to reason with them. I was beaten, cursed at, and pushed down the stairs to my gruesome death. Now, in this life, I have returned reborn. I gaze upon the foolish, fanatical faces before me. There is no anger in my heart, no sense of grievance, no resentment, only a profound, icy indifference. I slowly raised my head. I looked toward Cora, who was fake crying on the podium. I looked toward the menacing Tristan beside me. I looked around at the circle of classmates waiting for me to take a stand. I didn't say a word. I didn't nod. I didn't object. I didn't try to stop them. I don't fit in. I just calmly looked away. I lowered my head and looked at The test paper on the desk. I didn't say a word. You are determined to die. Why should I stop you any longer? To stop you would be my mistake. Not to stop you would also be my mistake. Then I'll just sit here quietly watching from the sidelines as you take your own lives and burn them to ashes. Seeing me fall silent, Tristan's face instantly darkened with a terrifying intensity. He thought I was being defiant. He believed I was secretly plotting to expose him. In my past life, I was beaten for trying to reason with him. In this life, my silence still couldn't save me. Vesper, playing mute, are we? He took a step forward and seized my arm. His grip was so tight, it felt like he was about to crush my bones. I can see it now. You just want to play the traitor and go running to our parents and teachers. Let me tell you, that's not happening. No way. Cora stood to the side, sniffling softly and adding fuel to the fire. Tristan, just drop it. Don't push Vesper any further. Maybe she just doesn't want to be with us. She said it so timidly, but that look in her eyes, it was clearly saying, teach her a lesson. As soon as the words were spoken, Tristan completely lost it. He abruptly let go of my hand. Her hand flew up, delivering another slap. Crack, harder than the last time and more vicious than before. The blow snapped my head to the side, and the coppery taste of blood instantly filled my mouth. My mouth was full of the taste of iron. All around me, my classmates were cheering. Serves you right. That's what you get. Not helping Cora is one thing, but thinking about snitching, that's disgusting. Teach her a lesson she won't forget. Tristan jabbed a finger in my face and snarled viciously, listen up, for tomorrow's college entrance exam, if you dare not hand in a blank paper, if you dare snitch, I'll make your life a living hell. Don't you dare leave after school. We need to have a little chat. I covered my stinging cheek, slowly raised her head, looked at Tristan, looked at Cora. Gazed at this group of familiar yet unfamiliar classmates. I didn't cry, I didn't make a scene, I didn't argue back, I just quietly wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth. His eyes were as calm and lifeless as a stagnant pond. That slap, it was over, completely. The last shred of childhood affection I held for Tristan, all my fondness for this class. Fine, if you want to go wild, then go wild. If you want to ruin it, then ruin it. From this day forward, your lives are no concern of mine, my future is mine to protect. No one will hold me back again. See you in hell, too. The moment the school bell rang, Tristan immediately came over with 4 other boys, surrounding him. Both the front and back doors are blocked. Their eyes were menacing. Their faces a clear promise of we're going to teach you a lesson today. Don't play dumb. Vesper, you're coming with us. I didn't resist. Resistance was futile. In the eyes of this crowd, the more I struggled, the more excited they became. The more I reasoned with them, the more rebellious they thought I was. I stood up quietly. I followed them, heading towards the back of the school building. The path grew more and more remote. Finally, we stopped in front of the door to a disused storage room. The iron door was covered in rust, clearly in use for many years. Upon opening it, a heavy stench of mildew, dust, and decay assaulted the senses. Inside was crammed with broken desks and chairs, rotten brooms, snapped mops, and discarded chalkboard erasers. A dark, sealed-off space. There wasn't even a single window. Get in. Tristan gave me a hard shove. I stumbled forward into the room, my knees slamming hard against the concrete floor. The pain made me gasp. The next instant, clang, the iron door slammed shut. Click, a soft click. They've locked me in from the outside. Just make yourself comfortable in there. Vesper, Tristan's voice came through the iron door, laced with smugness and cruelty. Forget about going anywhere tomorrow. It's the college entrance exam. We'll talk about letting you go after we hand in blank papers. And Cora feels avenged. You can scream your lungs out, but no one's coming to save you. The boy beside him joined in with a mocking laugh. She brought this on herself by not listening. That's what you get for betraying Cora. Let her stew in there for a while. The sound of footsteps faded into the distance, and then it was gone, completely. The entire storage room. I was all alone. Darkness, damp, chilling, despair. In my past life, even when they beat and kicked me, it never chilled me to the bone like this. But now, my childhood friend has locked me in this place. He won't let me participate. The college entrance exam that determines one's fate. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed by a fist. The pain was suffocating, but soon, that flicker of grievance was utterly consumed by a tidal wave of hatred. Tristan, Cora, and these mindless, bandwagon-jumping fools. You won't let me live. Then I'll live anyway. You won't let me take the exam. Then I'll take it anyway. I have to do better than anyone else. I pounded on the door, screaming, open the door, let me out. Tristan, you can't do this. The college entrance exam is my whole life. How dare you lock me up? Answer me. Nothing but dead silence. They left a long time ago. In their hearts me, the traitor. Whether I live or die is utterly insignificant. I screamed until my voice was hoarse, almost gone. She slumped to the floor, the tears finally falling. Not for them, it was for herself, the one who kept getting Stabbed in the back by those she trusted most, it was for Vesper from her past life, who met a tragic end downstairs. But what good does crying do? None. Crying will only make them feel more smug. Crying will only waste the time I need for studying. I wiped away my tears, leaning against the wall. I slowly pushed myself up. I looked around. The iron door was old. Its lock rusted. A pile of thick steel pipes, heavy wooden planks, and broken table legs lay nearby. A single thought crystallized in my mind. With absolute clarity, smash it. I grabbed the thickest, heaviest pipe I could find, knuckles white from the strain, arms trembling, but the eyes held a terrifying resolve. One strike, twice, 3 times. Clang, clang, clang. The steel pipe slammed hard against the lock, rust flaked off in a steady shower. The impact split the skin of my palm, a thin trickle of blood seeping out. The pain shot through me, making my whole body tremble. But I didn't dare stop. Every minute wasted, my chances of getting into college were hanging by a thread. I couldn't let these lunatics ruin my future. I lost track of how long I kept hitting it. My arm had gone completely numb. I was on the verge of total exhaustion. Bang! A deafening crash. The rusted lock shattered under my blow. With the last ounce of my strength, I pushed open the iron door outside. The sun was slowly setting. A golden red light washed over me. I got out. They didn't trap me. I can still take the college entrance exam. I was covered in dust. My hands were bleeding. My hair was a mess. I was a complete wreck, yet in my eyes, a light was shining that had never been there before. I dragged my aching, exhausted body home, step by painful step. The house was empty. I cleaned the wound and treated the bleeding cut on my hand with iodine. I looked in the mirror. My face was pale, but my eyes held an unusually resolute gaze. I took a deep breath. In my past life, my grades were average, and I only got into a second-tier university. I was invisible in class, constantly bullied and trampled upon. In this life, I carry the memories of my rebirth. I remember with absolute clarity every single type of question from the college entrance exam, every single problem I ever got wrong, every topic I'm weak in. If I study my hardest, I can get the top score. I turn on the desk lamp, I take out the test papers, textbook, and notes, the topics from the previous life's college entrance exam that I still hadn't mastered, cramming like crazy, math formulas, English vocabulary, classical Chinese texts, physics models, chemical equations, biology concepts, memorizing them over and over again, write it over and over again, work through the calculations again and again. When drowsy, splash cold water on my face. When weary, I think of Tristan's slap, Cora's crocodile tears, and the darkness of the storage room. All that pain, it's all fuel for my journey forward. This night, I lay awake all night. The sky outside the window, it began to lighten, little by little. The Gaoko, it has arrived. 3 early the next morning, the entrance to the exam site was packed with a huge crowd. Parents, students, and teachers were all chattering noisily. Nervousness and anticipation were written on every face, except for the people in our class. Their faces held nothing but the thrill of excitement and vindictive glee. The moment I showed up, I was cornered, completely trapped by Tristan, Cora, and their crew. Tristan saw me standing there, completely unharmed. He was visibly taken aback. His eyes instantly turned dark and menacing. "You actually managed to crawl out of the storage room." I gave him a cold, dismissive glance. I couldn't even be bothered to utter a single word. "Talking to someone like you would only soil my mouth. Vesper, this is my final warning." Tristan took a step forward, lowering his voice into a menacing growl. "When you go into that exam hall, you hand in a blank paper. You don't write a single word. If I find out you wrote anything, or if you snitch, I'll make sure you can't survive in the city." A few other boys joined in with their own threats. "You hear me? You hand in a blank test. We're watching your every move. Don't try anything funny." Cora stood to the side. She spoke in a frail, delicate voice, yet her tone was thick with emotional manipulation. "Vesper, just listen to us this once. Do it for the class, for me." I almost burst out laughing inside. "For the sake of the class. You call dragging the whole class into handing in blank papers and ruining everyone's future for the sake of the class, for me? Who do you think you are, you? Think I'd waste my life trying to please you?" But on the surface, I put on an act of fear and obedience. I gave a slight nod, my voice small and trembling. "I understand. I'll hand in a blank paper." Seeing me yield, a look of satisfaction finally appeared on Tristan's face. "Now that's more like it. Remember what you said." Cora's eyes crinkled into a smile, a gentle, yet insincere smile. "Thank you, Vesper." I didn't look at them again. I turned and walked into the examination hall. The proctor began distributing the exam papers. The moment the test landed on my desk, my heart was pounding out of my chest. Honestly, it was identical to the exam paper from my past life's memory. Exactly the same, every single question, every single option, every single blank space, so familiar. It's etched into my bones. Outside the examination hall, Tristan and the others were still smugly discussing their plans. "Let's see how I hand in a blank test and give the homeroom teacher a big surprise. They think everyone will go along with their crazy plan. They think I'll actually obediently turn in a blank paper. They thought this would get back at the homeroom teacher and win Cora's favor. Pathetic, hopelessly pathetic. The exam bell rang. I picked up my pen. Without a moment's hesitation, I lowered my head and began answering the questions earnestly. Multiple choice, fill in the blanks, problem solving, essay writing, stroke by stroke. Written neatly and with determination, I reviewed these problems last night. I've committed these concepts to memory, all the points I missed and lost in my past life. In this life, I won't lose a single point again. Sunlight streamed through the window, spilling onto the exam paper. My mind is completely at peace. You do your thing, I'll focus on my exam. You're gambling with your future out of spite. I'm betting my future on this. The first exam was over. I had just stepped out of the exam hall. Tristan and the others immediately surrounded me. So, Vesper, did you hand in a blank paper? Tristan's tone was urgent, his gaze scrutinizing. I nodded, my expression blank. I didn't write a single word. Really? Yeah, I lied calmly. They didn't suspect a thing. In their eyes, I will always be that weak, timid Vesper who never dared to fight back. They could never have imagined to be reborn. I am a completely different person now. The next few exams, after each one, Tristan would come to press me for answers. My answer to everyone was the same. I turned in a blank paper. They were getting more and more smug. There was even a hint of satisfaction in the way Cora looked at me. The final college entrance exam was over. Outside the exam hall, cheers erupted. Tristan had his arms around a few guys, laughing uproariously with an air of utter triumph. Yes, finally taught our homeroom teacher a lesson. The whole class is handing in blank tests. Let's see how the school punishes him. Cora, that must feel satisfying, right? Cora smiled, her eyes crinkling into crescents. She looked every bit the goddess, being adored and cherished by everyone. Thank you all for being willing to do this for me. A crowd gathered together in revelry, exchanging lavish praise, as if they had accomplished some earth-shattering feat. I stood at a distance, watching it all with cold detachment, as if observing a troupe of clowns. See how wildly they laugh now. The day the results came out, that's how desperately I cried. I turned away in silence. I didn't go home. Instead, I packed a simple bag and bought a train ticket. I went to my grandmother's house in the countryside to get away from those lunatics, to escape that disgusting class. Peace and quiet, waiting for the results to be announced. For days at grandma's house, peaceful and soothing, no slapping, no threats, no emotional blackmail, no fools blindly following the crowd. I spend my days reading, taking walks, and getting myself into the right headspace. Meanwhile, in the class group chat, the party rages on. Tristan is always showing off in the group chat, bragging about how brave and loyal they all are. Cora occasionally chimes in with a few kind words. She thanks everyone for their efforts on her behalf. A group of people engaged in mutual flattery. They completely avoided any mention of the future, university, or life itself. It was like turning in a blank exam paper. What an honor to be proud of for a lifetime. I looked at the group chat messages. All I felt was a mix of pity and absurdity. Over a decade of grueling study, the hopes of my parents, the guidance of my teachers, and my own relentless effort, all for the sake of one popular girl's feelings. Overnight, everything was abandoned. How utterly foolish, ignorant, and spineless. Finally, the Gaokao score inquiry portal is now officially open. I held my phone. My fingers trembled slightly. I entered my ID number and exam admission ticket number, clicked to search. The next moment, the page redirects. A string of numbers suddenly appears before your eyes. Total score, 732 points. Chinese 142, Mathematics 150, English 148, Science composite score 292, Provincial rank 1. I had the top scorer in the province. In an instant, tears fell without warning. It wasn't excitement, it was relief, it was injustice, it was the exhilarating relief of finally vindicating oneself. In my previous life, I died a miserable death at the foot of the building. My grades were mediocre, and my entire life was trampled upon. In this life, I was beaten, locked up, and threatened, yet, by my own strength, I carved out a bloody path of survival. 732 points, top scorer in the province. I can pick between Tsinghua and Peking University. I'm not that invisible, overlooked person who gets pushed around anymore. I'm still trying to calm down. The class group chat has completely blown up. The first one to lose it was Tristan. On the screenshot he attached 2 glaring words, 0 points. Immediately after, other classmates also frantically posted screenshots of their grades, one after another, all of them 0 points, 0 points. 0 points. I really got a 0. I won't be able to go to school. My parents are going to kill me. All my hard work over the past decade gone. Why on earth did I hand in a blank paper? Have I lost my mind? The mood in the group chat instantly plummeted from heaven to hell. Cries of despair, curses, and sounds of regret rose and fell in a chaotic chorus. They finally came to their senses, handing in a blank exam. The target of their revenge wasn't the homeroom teacher, it was themselves. What they ruined wasn't the teacher's job, it was their own lives at stake. The homeroom teacher wasn't forced to resign or face any disciplinary action. They were the ones who paid the price. Over a decade of hard work, all gone to waste. Tristan was spamming like a madman. My life is ruined. I'm truly finished. I stared at the screen. My face was expressionless. All of this, you brought this upon yourselves. It's your blind conformity. It's your moral coercion. You all gambled with your futures just to curry favor with a woman. You deserved it, but I never expected something even more disgusting and ironic. There's more to come. 5. Just as the whole class was falling apart and the group chat descended into chaos, I casually scrolled through the local high school student forum, an anonymous post. It suddenly caught my eye. The title was outrageously cocky. Those idiots in my class, running around at my whim. Did they really think I was as crazy as they are? I clicked on it. Every single word from the original poster, cut straight to the heart. You have no idea. My grades have always been terrible. I was never going to get into a good university here. I've been planning all along to go abroad and coast through some diploma mill. The college entrance exam was useless to me anyway. I deliberately incited the whole class to hand in blank papers just to get back at our homeroom teacher. I never thought they'd actually listen. One by one, they all handed in blank papers. All those top students who could have gotten into 985 or 211 universities ended up with 0 scores. I'm dying of laughter. What a bunch of idiots. I scammed them, and they're still counting the money for me. This feels amazing. A screenshot of the chat log was attached below. It was written in black and white. I would never gamble with my own life. I was just messing with them. I dared them to join me in my madness, and they actually went for it. I stared at that username even though it was anonymous, but that tone, that choice of words, that smug face, no one but Cora. There couldn't be a second person. I stared at the screen. I burst out laughing. What a complete joke. The whole class poured their hearts out. They stood up for her. They turned in blank exams for her. They threw their futures away for her. And in her eyes, the result was this. They were just a bunch of clowns, a group of pawns she could toy with. It. Well, I didn't hesitate for a second. Screenshot taken. Saved. Opened the class group chat. Tossed the screenshot right in. The next second, the group chat fell silent. A deathly silence. Everyone saw it, saw the goddess they held in the palms of their hands, saw the one they gave everything for. Their unattainable ideal was how, behind their backs, she called them fools and laughed at their idiocy. A few moments later, an even more devastating wave of panic erupted in the group chat. Cora, how could you do this to us? We handed in blank papers for you. We ruined our college entrance exams for you. And you just played us for fools. You're so cruel. I was such a fool to have trusted you. Cora was completely panicked. She started to shift the blame. It wasn't me. This is a fake. Someone is setting me up. Vesper, it must be you. This is your doing. She's still trying to pin the blame on me. I can't even be bothered to look. With a light tap, leave the group chat. Delete all classmates' contact information. Block Cora. Block Tristan. From this moment on, class 7 of senior year and I, Vesper, are done for good. All those disgusting people and things, I've shut them all out on the other side of my phone screen. I looked up at the sunlight streaming through the window, a sense of ease, an unprecedented feeling of lightness. 6. The news that I had become the top scorer in the province. It quickly spread throughout the entire school. Admissions officers from Tsinghua and Peking University came to my home in person. Without a moment's hesitation, I chose Tsinghua University. In my past life, Tristan stepped on me to get into Tsinghua. In this life, I'll make it on my own. He walked into the Tsinghua campus with his head held high, and Tristan, from the heights of heaven, plunged into an abyss of utter ruin. The fact that he was born out of wedlock, I only found out much later. He grew up plagued by insecurity. His only saving grace was his academic excellence. Only by getting good grades would his wealthy father ever spare him a second glance. Only by getting good grades would his mother have any hope of being formally recognized and welcomed into the Liu family. But now, he scored 0. On the college entrance exam, everything was lost. Tristan's father got the news. He was so furious he stormed off on the spot. He felt Tristan had utterly humiliated him. He immediately disowned him as his son. He wouldn't give him another penny, along with it, abandoning Tristan's mother as well. If you can't even raise your own son properly, what use are you? Tristan's mother had pinned all her hopes on Tristan from the very beginning. Overnight, hope was extinguished. She took out all her resentment on Tristan, hitting, berating, humiliating, and screaming in a complete breakdown. How did I end up with such a useless child? You'd throw away your entire future over a girl. Have you lost your mind? Tristan was already on the verge of a breakdown. He was constantly berated by his mother, abandoned by his father, and deceived by Cora. He had completely lost his mind. After a fierce argument, he stormed out of the house, dazed and not watching where he was going. A truck came speeding toward him. Bang! He woke up again. He had lost a leg, permanently disabled, lost my home, lost all my money, my grades are gone, his leg was gone, the goddess was a fraud. 2. He had nothing left. Tristan, utterly deranged, he directed all his hatred, and placed the blame squarely on Cora. He sought out Cora. In a deserted corner, he drew the knife he had prepared long in advance. One thrust, it plunged straight into Cora's heart. That smug, manipulative queen bee who had toyed with the entire class, I couldn't believe it. Even in death, I was killed by the hands of my once most devoted follower. The murder was deliberate, and the evidence was irrefutable. Tristan was sentenced to death. Before the execution, he sent a message through the prison guard. He wants to see me, wants to see me. Of all people, my childhood sweetheart, the one he beat, locked up, threatened, and pushed from the high-rise. When I heard the news, I was packing my bags for Tsinghua University. I fell silent for a long time. In the end, I gave a nod. I'll go. It wasn't that my heart softened, I just wanted him to. I want to know the truth before I die. I want him to know how exactly did I save him in my past life. I want him to know how utterly foolish and damned he is. 7. The detention center visiting room. The iron door was cold, the atmosphere oppressive. Tristan was brought in. He wore prison garb. His hair was white and disheveled. One pant leg hung empty. His face was pale and haggard, his eyes dull and lifeless. Gone was the man from years past, the brilliant, top-achieving childhood friend he once was. All that remained was wretchedness, madness, and despair. He saw me, his eyes flew wide open, his emotions surged in an instant. He lunged forward desperately, only to be pinned down firmly by the prison guard. Vesper, it's you. This is all your fault. Why didn't you stop me from handing in a blank exam? Why didn't you tell me Cora was a fraud? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. I wouldn't have failed. I wouldn't have been abandoned by my father. I wouldn't be crippled. I wouldn't have killed anyone. I wouldn't have been sentenced to death. He screamed hysterically. He blamed everything on him. They're putting all the blame on me. Same old story with them. They always point the finger at others. They never look at themselves, blindly following the crowd, imposing moral obligations on others, utterly foolish, and never repenting even unto death. I looked at him. His gaze was calm, without a single ripple of emotion. Tristan, you'll go to your grave without ever understanding what you did wrong. He froze. The roar was cut short. I began to speak. Slowly, the voice was quiet, yet each word was distinct, piercing his mind like a knife. Do you really think this is the first time you've handed in a blank paper? Or do you think this is the first time I've watched you die a gruesome death? I paused, word by word. I revealed the truth he could never have imagined. In my past life, I saved you. I told you everything about that past life. I laid it all out. Exactly as it happened. In that past life, I tried to stop you from handing in a blank test. You slapped me, and the other students kicked and beat me, bleeding and in pain. I ran to find the teacher, notified every parent, and stayed up all night to watch over you. You were all forced to finish the exam. Everyone scored high, and you got 710 points, getting accepted into Tsinghua University. Cora handed in a blank paper and vanished. You took all your anger out on me and pushed me from the 3rd floor. I fell to my death right in front of you, my eyes wide open in eternal grievance. I've returned, reborn with the memories of my death. I finished speaking. A deathly silence fell over the meeting room. Tristan froze in place. His eyes went blank, as if struck by lightning. The next instant, countless memories that did not belong to him frantically flooded into his mind. Scenes from my past life, my futile attempts to stop him, the slap from his hand, the beating from my classmates, the parents' unwavering vigilance, the 710 on the Gaokao, the Tsinghua University acceptance letter, Cora blocking them. He pushed me off the skyscraper, the image of me hitting the ground, blood gushing out. He synchronized my memories of rebirth. He finally remembered. I remembered how I risked my life to save him in my past life. I remembered how he killed me with his own hands in my past life. I remembered how he could have had a bright future in my past life. Ah, Tristan let out a scream of pure, unadulterated agony. He slammed his head against the desk again and again. He battered his head against the wall in a frenzy, his face a bloody mess. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was wrong. Vesper, I'm not human. I'm an animal. I had a chance to get into Tsinghua. I could have had a good life. Why did I hand in a blank paper? Why did I ever trust Cora? Why did I have to kill you? Why did I become like this? He was driven mad with remorse. He wept bitterly, desperately begging for forgiveness, but it was all too late. I looked at him, my voice soft as I pronounced his final fate. In our past life, I saved you, and you killed me. In this life, I will not save you, and you shall reap what you have sown. It is not I who has brought this upon you. It was your own stupidity, blindness, and malice that ruined you. You've brought this upon yourself. You got exactly what you deserved. I stood up and walked away without another word. I didn't look back. Behind me, it was the sound of His heart-wrenching sobs and him pounding against the wall, but I will never feel a shred of pity again. 8. The day I left the detention center, the sun was shining just right. I completely let go of all my past. Later, I heard, right up until his execution, Tristan was raving like a madman, incessantly muttering I'm sorry and I was wrong. In the end, the death sentence was carried out on him. It brought an end to his foolish and wicked life. Cora died a violent death in the streets, her reputation utterly destroyed. Those classmates who handed in blank exam papers, some repeated their final year of school, enduring scorn and contempt, yet their grades remained dismal even after several attempts. Others left home early to work menial jobs, trapped at the bottom of society for the rest of their lives, with no hope of ever climbing out. Some broke with their families, drifted from place to place, and ended up becoming the very person they despised. They spent a lifetime paying the price for their past blind conformity and moral coercion. And as for me, lugging my suitcase, I walked through the gates of Tsinghua University. The campus was shaded by lush trees, the academic atmosphere was profound, and I was surrounded by brilliant yet kind people. No one would slap me across the face anymore. No one would lock me in a storage room anymore. No one forces me to hand in a blank test anymore. No one looks at me with malice in their eyes anymore. I've finally left that dark final year of high school behind. I'm free from those awful people. I've escaped the fate of a tragic death in my past life. I stood at the gate of Tsinghua University. Looking back, all the pain, grievances, darkness, and malice were left far behind me, having lived a second life. I finally understand. Don't try to wake someone who is pretending to sleep. Don't try to stop someone who is determined to jump off a cliff. Save your kindness for those who deserve it. Your life is yours, and yours alone, from this day forward. The sky's the limit for the bird, the ocean's vast for the fish. My future is bright and full of promise. The end. Story 2. In our senior year of high school, our class was the top-performing class in the entire school. No matter how challenging the exams were, every student consistently scored over 140 points in every subject, everyone except me, strangely enough. While I always aced regular practice tests and came out on top in class, my performance would plummet during official exams, landing me at the bottom of the rankings. On the flip side, classmates who usually had average scores on practice tests would excel and achieve outstanding results when it came to the real exams. They'd brush it off with a casual remark, saying, "We were just going easy on you during practice." I started overhearing classmates talking behind my back. She must have cheated off someone during regular exams, but couldn't copy during the finals and got exposed. She always acted so proper. Who knew she'd pull such dishonest stunts? How embarrassing. The rumor spread like wildfire through the whole school. Everyone knew there was a fraud in the honors class who only got good grades by cheating. I was at a loss to defend myself and started considering transferring schools, but then the class monitor stood up and said, "We've been classmates for so long, let's give him another chance to prove himself." The other students all agreed, yet the accusations against me persisted. I began surviving on just 3 hours of sleep each night, even studying with a flashlight under the covers. But when exam day came, I still ended up with the lowest score. The bullying intensified. Someone scrawled "cheating dog" on my desk. The restroom stall was locked from the outside while I was inside, and my lunch tray would get accidentally knocked over. Every time I thought about transferring schools, the class monitor would inexplicably intervene to stop me. Eventually I couldn't take it anymore, and right before the college entrance exams, I jumped from the school building, seeing my lifeless body lying in a pool of blood. The flustered class monitor finally let the truth slip, yelling at the other students, without her inner voice, "What do we do now? Look at the mess you've made." In my final moments, the truth finally dawned on me, but I could only draw my last breath with bitter resentment. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in my senior year of high school, right before my first major exam. The exam paper felt cool under my palm, and in my right hand was the same gel pen that had been with me throughout senior year, only it looked newer than I remembered. I looked up in confusion. Everyone around me was hunched over their papers, and the only sound in the classroom was the soft rustling of pens on paper. No looking around during the exam. The proctor whispered as she approached my desk. Only then did I snap back to reality and lower my head. The test paper was boldly titled "September Monthly Exam." My first formal examination in the final year of high school. Did I just reincarnate, since my so-called good classmates from my past life had only aced their exams by eavesdropping on my thoughts? I couldn't possibly let them down this time around. I let out a cold, inward laugh and began quietly observing the others in the examination hall. Soon enough, I spotted my classmate Bella 2 seats ahead and to my left. She was clutching her pen, pretending to scribble notes on scratch paper, but hadn't written a single word on the actual test, almost as if she were waiting for someone to feed her the answers. Now I understand. She was waiting to hear what was in my heart. In my past life, she was often the one leading the charge, slandering and insulting me behind my back. You could say my downfall, where everyone pointed fingers at me, was closely tied to her actions. Besides her, there were 2 other classmates in the exam hall, Elias and Noah. In my previous life, They didn't seem to speak ill of me much, but they didn't step in to stop the others' behavior either. They fell into the category of bystanders. Question 13. The moment I started thinking, Bella and the others immediately perked up and straightened their postures. I remember, what Bella hates most is when people say. A smile spread across Bella's face as she thought to herself, finally moving on. That silly girl was spacing out just now, making me waste a good few minutes. Just wait till after the exam. I'll teach her a lesson. She quieted down to continue listening to my thoughts, only to hear me think, from this angle, Bella looks like a barrel. With a riot, Bella tore through the draft paper in one stroke. She also heard other classmates in the same exam hall snicker with a pft before being hushed by the teacher. That bitch. Bella gritted her teeth, clenched her pen, and focused back on hearing my thoughts. I watched their reactions, a smirk playing on my lips. The real show is just beginning. Using the Pythagorean theorem, 3 plus 2a, so the answer to this fill-in-the-blank question is A. As can be easily seen from the diagram, the two triangles are congruent. The next line after laughing heartily as I step out the door is, smiling. They ask where the guest hails from. This period marks the conclusion of the entire event, abruptly cutting short the emotions built up throughout the piece, clearly conveying the author's homesickness essay. That day while playing Go with my father, he was explaining the concepts of standard moves, brilliant moves, and crude moves when I suddenly developed a high fever. My mother carried me on her back through the pouring rain to the hospital. When in doubt, pick the longest option. The answer for this reading passage is C. Choose abandon. Using the left-hand rule, the direction is toward the upper left. Throughout the 2 consecutive days of exams, I kept silently repeating answers in my head that even I found laughable. But what truly delighted me during those 2 days wasn't the nonsense running through my mind. It was how, after finishing each exam, I'd perform a dramatic internal recitation. Bella's waist is so thick, it must be full of water. We all only have one waist, so how come some people's are so round? Bella seems to be wearing makeup today. It makes her look so old. And in the heat of the moment, I even sang Ugly Creature loudly in my head a few times. Could you please not turn on the light? I watched as Bella went from initial irritation to full-blown anger, and by the last 10 minutes of the final exam, I could even see a vein bulging on her temple. Meanwhile, the other 2 classmates had been stifling their laughter for days, pinching their thighs during exams to keep from bursting out. I also noticed their glances at Bella's waist had grown increasingly ridiculous lately. Well, isn't this entertaining? But there are still moments when you just can't hold it in. In the last 5 minutes before the exam ended, while I was mentally debating what to eat later and complimenting Bella on her well-proportioned figure, Noah finally lost it and burst out laughing, making the entire exam hall turn to look at him. The proctor walked over to Noah with a displeased look on his face, but that laugh was the final straw that broke Bella's composure. She shut up so abruptly that her chair slammed into the desk behind her, making the person at the back jump. Bella completely lost her cool and lunged at me furiously. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. Fully prepared, I deliberately stood up a beat too slow, panicking as I grabbed test papers, drafts, and stationery from the desk to block her. Completely unhinged, Bella tore all my things to shreds and was about to climb over the desk to grab me. What do you think you're doing, young lady? After a moment of shock, the 2 proctors rushed over and restrained Bella. Stay still and calm down. Let me go. I'm going to tear that bitch Aria apart. Let me go. Bella glared at me viciously and yelled, she insulted me first. I did nothing wrong. Let me go. Hearing this, the 2 teachers looked puzzled. How could I have possibly insulted anyone when I had been sitting quietly the whole time? They instinctively turned to look at me. I was slumped in my chair, one hand pressed against my chest, my eyes still wide with fright. My voice was faint and trembling, my eyes slightly reddened. Both teachers, you were in the exam hall the whole time, I said with a mix of hurt and anger. I've been completely quiet. It was her who suddenly attacked me for no reason, and, choked up and unable to speak, I just pointed at the shredded paper scraps and scattered stationery on the floor. All the clueless classmates in the exam hall looked at me with sympathy, thinking I seemed about to fall apart like the torn test papers. Bella seemed to finally realize what she had just done. No, it wasn't me, it was her. She's the one behind all this. Arya, you did this on purpose. On purpose. I looked at her with innocent confusion. What are you even talking about? Bella was furious with my performance and blurted out, did you know we could hear? Teacher, the exam is over. Let's collect the papers first. At the critical moment, Elias suddenly cut Bella off and looked at me. We can discuss how to handle this later. All right. He sounded all businesslike and peacemaker-y, but I knew perfectly well he was trying to stop Bella from revealing that they could hear my thoughts, and it wasn't just him. Noah had also Been about to speak up, the corner of my mouth lifted in an almost imperceptible curve, my expression a mix of lingering anger and reluctant acceptance. I suppose that's fine. Let's not hold up the rest of the class over this. They want to cover things up. Fine by me. Revealing our cards this early would ruin all the fun, and I'm not done playing yet. We'll take our time. Bella was taken to the office by the teacher, still glaring at me with gritted teeth as she left. Playing along perfectly, I put on a frightened expression that, combined with my naturally delicate features, made me appear utterly vulnerable. Noah and Elias exchanged a glance, both seeing confusion in each other's eyes. They were probably wondering what conflict existed between Bella and me. Keep guessing. You too. With the help of a few kind classmates, I gathered my things and quietly left the classroom. My disheveled appearance drew many stares along the way, combined with other exam takers discussing the incident. Upon returning to their classes, I suddenly became seen as an innocent victim of unjust misfortune in everyone's eyes. I faintly overheard people glancing at me and whispering, "That's her, the one whose exam paper got torn up. How awful, old wang, you were in that exam hall." What actually happened? This girl from her class suddenly went crazy and ripped up her test, then tried to hit her. I think that girl might be a bit, here. You know, old wang tapped his temple with a knowing look. News of Bella's sudden outburst spread like wildfire across the entire floor. On my way back to the classroom, I overheard many people making similar comments to old Wang's. I listened with quiet satisfaction, keeping my head down so no one could see my smile. Soon, I reached my classroom door, took a soft deep breath, and pushed it open to enter. It wasn't my imagination. The classroom fell silent instantly. Every pair of eyes locked onto me, filled with confusion, bewilderment, and suspicion. The atmosphere was eerie and oppressive. If I'm not mistaken, every classmate of mine can hear my inner thoughts, no matter which exam hall they're in, which means everyone heard my elaborate commentary on Bella's waist. No wonder they're all making that face. "Arya, are you okay? How's Bella?" Class President Vaughn was the first to approach, wearing a strained smile that I could see right through. Come to think of it, Bella is Vaughn's girlfriend. No wonder he's struggling to smile at the person who's been badmouthing his girl, but this is exactly what I wanted to see. I timidly glanced around the classroom, barely holding back my laughter. "I live to see you all with these expressions on your faces. Utterly delightful." I have no idea what happened," I said innocently. "I was just sitting here quietly when she suddenly lunged at me, tore up my test paper, and tried to hit me." Vaughn's smile froze as he tried to smooth things over. "There must be some misunderstanding here, Bella." Usually, I cut him off. "Class president, it's not like Bella and I have some deep-seated grudge. Why would she do this?" Vaughn's words caught in his throat. Just then, Sophia, who's always been close with Bella, snorted and said sarcastically, "Who knows if someone said something insulting? Sounds like a guilty conscience to me. In my past life, I would have rushed to defend myself, fallen into disarray, and walked right into their trap." "Are you saying it's my fault?" I looked at her, my voice quiet but loud enough for the whole class to hear. "But there are surveillance cameras in the exam room, and they clearly show I did nothing from start to finish. Why do you think it's my fault?" Sophia wanted to say more, but Vaughn stopped her with a look. The class monitor put on a smile and launched into that familiar, annoying peacemaker speech. All right, there must be some misunderstanding. When Bella gets back, I'll make sure she apologizes to you." Harmony among classmates is what matters most. Vaughn put on this whole "I have your best interests at heart" act, but I didn't hear a single word he said. I knew damn well he was cursing me out in his head, but what could he do? All I had to do was play the innocent victim perfectly. They couldn't expose me without revealing their own secret, that they could hear my thoughts. Bottom line, even if I'm mentally tearing them to shreds right now, they just have to suck it up and take it. I looked at Vaughn, saying aloud, "Sorry, class monitor, I'd like to go back to my seat and rest," but in my heart, I was shouting with perfect enunciation, "Dumbass." Yet surprisingly, Vaughn's expression didn't falter in the slightest, as if he hadn't heard a thing. Defiantly cursing under my breath a few more times, I realized not just Vaughn, none of the other classmates reacted either. I returned to my seat with lingering confusion. My desk remained untouched then, free of ugly slurs like copycat mutt. Pulling textbooks from the drawer, I began studying with practiced ease. The classroom tension held until our stern homeroom teacher Arthur returned with red-eyed Bella in tow. I believe everyone has heard about the unpleasant incident involving one of our classmates during the exam. The homeroom teacher's expression was stern and intimidating. "Bella, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Bella bit her lip resentfully. "I'm sorry, Arya. I acted on impulse. I hope you can forgive me, but your eyes tell a different story. They look like they want to kill me." I put on a magnanimous front. It's fine. So Arya, there are two options for your final exam, the homeroom teacher said. Either retake the test, or make do with that torn exam paper. Which will you choose? Before I could speak, Vaughn jumped in anxiously. I suggest Arya go with the second option. There's no need to waste teaching resources just for one person. He then looked at me with a placating expression. I'm sure Arya feels the same way. It's just one exam. What's done is done. Since you love making decisions for others so much, why don't you take my next exam for me? The expression I once found gentle now made me sick. What? Afraid I'll choose to retake it? No, it's just, the homeroom teacher had reached his limit, already in a foul mood after being reprimanded by the principal. He snapped. That's enough, Vaughn. Sit down. This has nothing to do with you. Fine. Vaughn sat down with a scowl. The entire class was now all ears, waiting for my response there. Reactions made me wonder what would happen if I chose to retake the exam, but unfortunately, I had no intention of retaking it. Let's just make do with that crappy test paper. After I said that, I could clearly feel everyone in the classroom breathe a sigh of relief. The homeroom teacher acknowledged it and left the classroom. All eyes were on me, some openly and some discreetly, but I ignored them and buried myself in my book. There's a reason I didn't opt for a retake. I wanted to see how they'd perform when I deliberately bombed the test. I'm really looking forward to it. My hanging hair concealed my expression, and no one noticed the smile playing on my lips. Over the next few days, I noticed something very strange. In the days following the monthly exam, my classmates seemed completely oblivious to my inner thoughts, a stark contrast to how things were during the test itself, for instance. No matter how much I mentally criticized Bella's waistline, she never reacted or changed her behavior. Of course, she's been glaring at me with pure menace this whole time. I'm so scared. After several days of testing, I've come to a conclusion. My classmates can only hear my thoughts during formal exams, like monthly tests. Before this monthly exam, our class had a minor test where no one scored higher than me, so no matter how much I compliment them in my mind during regular days, nobody ever hears it. I couldn't help but feel a bit bored, but luckily, some excitement came along. Soon enough, Arya, I dare you to make a bet with me. Early this morning, Bella stormed over to my desk, swaying her thick waist aggressively, and slammed her hand down on my desktop with a smack. In my previous life, Bella had also made a bet with me, but it wasn't as full of resentment as this time. The reason she wanted to bet with me was simple. Today was the day our monthly exam results were released. In my previous life, I agreed to the bet and ended up with the lowest score in the class. As a result, I had to fetch meals for Bella for a whole month and wash her stinky socks that had piled up for weeks. She ordered me around like I was her lackey. I was such a fool back then, but this time I let out a light chuckle. What do you want to bet? If you score lower than me, get on your knees and bark like a dog 3 times. Clearly, she was still fuming from our argument a few days ago. I nodded along, playing along as I pressed further. And what if you lose? A triumphant gleam flashed in Bella's eyes as she retorted matter-of-factly, you always outscore me anyway, so if I lose, it's just normal, isn't it? How could you even think of punishing me? You're absolutely right, I said, almost laughing in disbelief. After all, what's on your neck is just for show. Even if we cracked it open, there'd probably be less inside than in a walnut. Bella froze for a second before exploding. Are you insulting me? What else would I be doing? Do you think I'm an idiot? I smirked at her flustered expression. Why would I agree to an unfair bet? And let's not forget you tore up one of my test papers. After pulling that stunt, what makes you think I'd ever take your challenge? Bella was left speechless by the retort, her face flushing bright red. What's wrong? Feeling violent again. From an angle only visible to Bella, I shot her a look, sensing the situation was getting tense. Sophia quickly stepped in, pulling Bella over to Vaughn and whispering, calm down. Do you really want to get scolded by the homeroom teacher again? It's only natural for Arya to refuse the bet when one of her exam scores is missing. It'd be more suspicious if she actually agreed, Vaughn said, less impulsive than Bella. Just wait until the results come out. We'll see if she's still so arrogant then. Sophia still seemed uneasy. Speaking of which, are you sure this will work? Don't worry. My wish included altering her memories. There's no way she'll notice her answers have been tampered with, Vaughn declared confidently. I'll let her off this time, but next time, I'm definitely going to teach that bastard a lesson. Bella sneered. Who do you think you're going to teach a lesson? A deep, intimidating voice sounded from the classroom doorway. The noisy classroom instantly fell silent, and everyone sat properly in their seats. Arthur walked in carrying a stack of test papers, his face darker than ever, his eyes seeming to spit fire. Vaughn's heart sank. This wasn't how he'd imagined the scene playing out. With a loud thud, he slammed the test papers on the lectern. Arthur then roared at all of us, his voice bordering on a full-blown yell. Just look at this disgraceful performance on your exams. And amid Arthur's fury, no one noticed the faint smile that crept across my face. For the next 10 minutes, Arthur tore our entire class to shreds. His roaring voice struck every student like a heavy hammer to the heart, the lowest average score in the whole grade. What were you all thinking? Arthur fumed, veins bulging on his forehead. Apart from one or two students who performed normally, the rest of you, your answers were wildly off base, and almost identical. Are you all cheating together? After saying this, Arthur took a deep breath and directly ordered someone to hand out the test papers to us. I'm too embarrassed to even read your scores out loud. The moment we got our scores, almost everyone thought there must have been a grading mistake. Nearly all were rendered speechless by their own disastrous results, and sobs could even be heard from a few of the girls. How is this possible? Vaughn's face turned ashen as he stared at his test paper, the double-digit scores across all subjects making him doubt his own eyes. Impossible. You have the nerve to say impossible. Vaughn, you're always daydreaming in class. I've been turning a blind eye because of your decent grades. But look what happened. Arthur was like a powder keg ready to explode. Your total rank dropped beyond 300th place. That's 200 spots lower than last semester. And you, Bella, scoring just over 20 points in English. I could step on the answer sheet randomly and get a higher score. After scolding Vaughn, Arthur immediately turned to Bella. As for your math grade, I can't even bear to look. Bella's math score was even in the single digits. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she gasped. No way, but I clearly heard. What about Arya? How did Arya do? As Bella spoke, the entire class began glancing in my direction, some overtly, others more discreetly. Vaughn perked up. Wait, how did Arya, the one who started all this, actually score? Why am I suddenly being dragged into this? I was secretly laughing at their ridiculous, disbelief-stricken faces, but then they had to bring me into it, forcing me to straighten up my expression. Arthur grew even angrier at these words. How dare you mention Arya, Bella? If you hadn't torn up her test paper, she could have scored even higher. Even with half her exam unscored, Arya still came first in the class this time. Bella swayed on her feet, murmuring, impossible, that can't be right. After speaking, Arthur's expression softened as he looked at me. Arya, what happened this time? How did you end up with results like these? I remained silent, simply hanging my head with a sorrowful expression as the student who had dominated the top spot in our grade throughout the entire sophomore year. Our homeroom teacher still showed me some leniency. He only gave me a few words of admonishment before shifting his focus to the other students. The other students' gazes were still fixed on me, but in their eyes, I was just upset about bombing the exam, keeping my head down and obsessively reviewing my mistakes. Honestly, I was struggling to hold back my laughter. I feel a bit bad for Arthur's heart, but seeing the looks on their faces, like they just swallowed cockroaches, was absolutely priceless. But I still have one question. Why can they hear my thoughts, and why does this ability seem to have limitations? Arthur's anger lasted the entire class. When the bell rang, he left after saying, everyone must hand in an 800-word self-criticism the day after tomorrow. As soon as Arthur left, Bella annoyingly came over and said, did you do that on purpose? I pretended not to understand. On purpose about what? Your answers. She grabbed my collar angrily. These answers are completely abnormal. Did you write them like this on purpose? I nodded directly, admitting what she said. You're right, but I don't know what happened either. It's like I just woke up and my mind is all foggy. As I spoke, I actually started choking up. At that, everyone instinctively looked at Bella, who hurriedly let go. It's not my fault. She started crying on her own. It's fine. It's not her fault. It's all my problem. I considerately took Bella's hand, startling her. Then, naturally, I straightened her collar a bit. Right, yeah, right, has nothing to do with me. Bella quickly picked up on my cue and ran with it. The teacher's still furious. Bella, lay low for a while. Vaughn, get her out of here. Elias cut in, motioning for Vaughn and the others to huddle where I couldn't overhear them. In a flash, I wiped away my tears, put on my headphones, and buried myself in my homework. Meanwhile, Elias lowered his voice and asked Vaughn, you think your thing might be acting up? Impossible. I followed our agreed-upon wording exactly when making the wish. There's no way there could be any mistake, Vaughn stated with conviction. After a moment's hesitation, Noah said, then is it possible that Arya has found out we can hear her thoughts? That's even more unlikely. Vaughn frowned. Unless one of you slipped up, how could Arya possibly know about the wish I made? Then, the gazes of Sophia, Noah, and the others simultaneously turned toward Bella. Bella, seeing Bella was about to lose her temper again. Elias quickly interjected. I stopped her right there. And she didn't spill anything. Noah can vouch for me. Noah nodded eagerly. That's strange, Vaughn said, puzzled. Then why would she do something like that? Never mind. Just make sure to tell the rest of the class to lay low for a while until Arthur cools off. Don't get it? Good. You're not supposed to. I stretched my arms overhead with a lazy sigh, gathering my test papers while casting a sidelong glance toward Bella and her friends. A smirk playing on my lips, I took off my headphones. So that's how it is. The listening device was planted on Bella's collar days ago. I was just retrieving it now, based on the intel I've gathered through surveillance these past few days. I've pieced together what really happened. Vaughn once made a wish that allowed the entire class to hear my thoughts during the official exam, using it to steal my answers. Not only that, he could alter my answers afterward to lower my score, and even manipulate my memories to make me firmly believe the wrong answers were correct. That's why I never noticed anything wrong in my previous life. But according to Vaughn, this wish comes with limitations. Once they decide to steal my answers, they can't make changes. The wish automatically fine-tunes my responses to make the plagiarism undetectable. Though it's utterly unscientific how Vaughn managed to make this wish work, I came to terms with it after glancing in the mirror. Yeah, right. As if reincarnation itself is scientifically sound, the only reason they're targeting me with their wishes is probably because I'm the top student in our grade. So you're enjoying the answers I provide, and now you have the nerve to turn around and accuse me. Why? Is it because you live like a parasite that you need to put me down to feel like your existence has meaning? After school, lying on my soft, comfortable bed, I stretched out my hand, looked at it, and then clenched it into a fist. No worries. I'll make sure you have a good time. In the following days, the whole class settled down quite a bit. At the very least, no one dared to act out in front of our current homeroom teacher. Of course, since our monthly exam results were a complete disaster, Arthur scheduled quite a few tests during this period. These were informal class exams, so naturally, no one else could hear what was going on in my head, so I stopped holding back and unleashed my full academic prowess, devouring every test paper in an instant. Every time the results were announced, I was at the top of the class, and the other students returned to their usual performance levels. To outsiders, it looks like I'm crushed by my failure in the monthly exam, so I'm studying like crazy to wash away the shame, but in reality, I'm just reinforcing the stereotype other classmates have of me. I'll make them believe that everything about last month's exam was just a fluke. Sure enough, it's working like a charm. Just before midterms, Bella shoved her annoying face in mine again and taunted, "Arya, let's make another bet on this exam." No bet, I kept it short, not even bothering with her. Once I'd settled on my plan, everything else along the way was irrelevant. "Are you scared?" Bella chattered away in my ear for ages, but I didn't even glance her way. Just as she was about to blow up again, Sophia quickly pulled her away. "Just give it a rest, will you? I couldn't care less about what they do. There's no point in even making a bet. According to my plan, I'll end up at the very bottom of the class in the upcoming exam, just like I did in my previous life. But this is all part of the plan. JPG. During the 3 days of midterm exams, I silently recited the correct answers from the test papers in my mind with perfect accuracy. I could see the relieved smiles on the faces of my classmates in the same exam room. Yes, that's the expression. Just thinking about the faces you'll make when senior year ends makes me want to laugh. I chuckled to myself, thoughtfully reciting every single answer in my mind once more, and just like that, the entire class successfully curbed my answers. Well, Arthur's blood pressure should be better now. That's what I thought to myself. Sure enough, when the results were announced a few days later, Arthur walked into the classroom with an unmistakable spring in his step. Our class reclaimed the top spot, and every student's grades had improved significantly. Well, except for mine. I found my name at the very bottom of the class ranking, just as I expected. Tisk tsk, no wonder you didn't dare to bet with me. You already knew you'd bomb the test. Bella sneered as soon as Arthur left. With scores this high normally, were you cheating? Bella, that's enough. What if she starts crying like last time? Haha, watch what you say. She might go tell the teacher. Haha. Bella's clique joined in mocking me. Everyone else just stood by and let it happen without intervening. They seemed perfectly comfortable listening to Bella ridicule me. How strange is that? How can they be so at ease with themselves? I marveled at the diversity of human nature while ignoring Bella's sarcastic remarks and let out a yawn, seeing how unfazed I was. Bella gritted her teeth in frustration. Suddenly, an idea struck her, and she pulled Sophia and the others aside. "Listen," she said, "for the next exam, let's spread the word that Arya only gets first place by cheating and plagiarizing." Sophia hesitated. "Is that really okay?" "What's so bad about that?" Bella said matter-of-factly. "I'm just trying to motivate her to work harder. Besides, isn't it a fair trade to sacrifice one person for the future of our entire class?" I think Bella's right. Sacrificing one person to benefit so many. Arya should feel honored. Exactly. Everything's just like in my previous life. I ended up at the bottom of the class in every major exam after that, yet I'd somehow clinched the top spot in routine quizzes. Gradually, the whispers of copycat and cheater started swirling around me. Again, everything I'd endured in my previous life was replaying itself, and just like before, I'd wrecked my health trying desperately to prove my innocence. This time, those words left me completely unfazed, and I could even ignore the doodles on my desk without a second thought. Alright, I can't say I was completely unfazed. Seeing the sour looks on Bella and her crew's faces when they realized their rumors had zero effect on me was absolutely delicious. It made my meals taste so good I could've had 2 extra bowls. After that, Bella kept acting like some NPC that respawns after every exam. The moment grades came out, she'd show up in front of me with her little entourage, sneering and making sarcastic remarks. Then Vaughn would chime in, backing up Bella with words that sounded reasonable on the surface but were really subtle digs at me, all before Arthur arrived in the classroom, and of course, he'd always add that he hoped I wouldn't take it personally. Bella's still a student, so don't take it personally. I felt sick just listening to that, just thinking about how in my past life I actually believed Vaughn was being fair and even felt touched by it makes me want to vomit. Asterisk cough asterisk excuse my outburst. Anyway, with my deliberate efforts, the year flew by quickly. The moment I've been planning for has finally arrived. I stretched and picked up my exam admission ticket. The college entrance exams are finally here. The examination hall was filled with a solemn atmosphere. Standing in line outside the exam hall, I calmly checked my stationery. My palms were no longer sweaty, leaving only a chilling calm in my heart. Looking around, my classmates wore varying degrees of nervousness, but more prominently, subtle anticipation and a hint of smugness. Bella even shot me a covert, challenging look, as if saying, "Your good grades are about to be ours again." I responded with a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "No, not yet. Can't celebrate now. 2 more days to go. We'll declare victory in 2 days. JPG. Alright then, let the exam begin." The bell rang, and the test papers were handed out. I took a deep breath and started answering the questions, just as I had rehearsed countless times in my mind over the past year. But this time, the voice in my head no longer offered clear answers. Question 1. Pick A. Wait, the question seems tricky. Maybe B. Hold on, C could also be right. I deliberately muddled my thoughts, turning simple questions into convoluted puzzles and tangling clear reasoning into knots. Meanwhile, I discreetly observed how others were doing. As luck would have it, Bella was in the same exam hall as me again. Just like the very first time, her pen froze midair, brows furrowed as if straining to decipher the chaotic whirlwind of my thoughts. It wasn't just her. Every classmate in the exam hall who could hear my internal monologue was starting to look visibly disturbed. The essay topic: should I write about overcoming adversity? Too cliché, maybe. Technological progress, but I don't have enough material. Oh no, time's running out. I'll just scribble something down. I'm definitely failing this anyway. I mentally gave up on several major questions, lamenting inwardly, "It's over. I'm completely done for this time." I could almost feel the anxiety spreading like a plague among my classmates in different exam halls. I bet some were already wiping sweat off their brows constantly, while others shifted restlessly in their seats. Vaughn's face was probably turning ashen as he struggled to concentrate, but my inner voice, filled with doubt and self-criticism, kept echoing in his mind, sabotaging his focus. Yes, exactly, a bunch of ungrateful parasites. Once the host itself is in chaos, you'll only die faster. When the bell rang for the end of the first exam, I was almost the first one to rush out of the exam hall. Behind me came the sound of suppressed sobs and angry whispers. "Arya." Bella charged forward, grabbing my arm so hard her nails almost dug into my flesh. Her eyes were red, filled with panic and fury. "What the hell are you playing at? Why are all your answers wrong?" I forcefully shook off her hand, feigning surprise and innocence. "Bella, what are you talking about? What does it matter to you whether my answers are right or wrong? Can you read my mind?" My voice was loud enough to draw sideways glances from examinees of other schools nearby. Bella was at a loss for words, her face flushed bright red. Yet she didn't dare speak the truth. Vaughn quickly stepped in to pull her away, shooting me a dark glare. "Arya, we'll talk after the exam. I have nothing to say to you." I looked at them calmly and offered a sincere wish: "May you perform at your true level." So in the following exams, I doubled down even harder. During the math exam, I deliberately miscalculated in my head, arriving at absurd answers, and even recited a passage in English out loud. In the science test, I mixed up concepts left and right, misreading an entire line of multiple choice questions. For the English exam, I even made up words and grammar rules that don't exist, all in my head. My inner voice is like a radio with terrible reception, sometimes clear, sometimes fuzzy, and at times completely drowned out by self-doubt and a screw-it attitude. My classmates went from initial anticipation to confusion, then anxiety, and finally plunged into utter despair. They were like ships that had lost their navigation, blindly struggling through the tempestuous seas of exams. The plagiarized answers contradicted each other, and their unsettled minds led to frequent mistakes even on questions they originally knew how to solve. The bell marking the end of the final exam rang like a death knell. I walked out of the exam hall calmly. The sunlight was a bit glaring, warming my body with its rays. In my past life, I never made it to the college entrance exams, but in this lifetime, I've finally seen it through. Behind me, an eerie silence fell over our class lineup. No one spoke. Minnie looked deathly pale, as if completely drained. Bella was supported by Sophia as she emerged, her eyes vacant. Vaughn kept his head down, exuding an aura of gloom. Arya, Vaughn, the class monitor, finally snapped. On the bus ride back to school, he stormed over to my seat, his voice a low, seething growl. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You've ruined everything for everyone." Every student on the bus turned to look, their eyes a turbulent mix of resentment, fear, and utter confusion. I lifted my head and met his gaze, my voice clear and steady, carrying to every corner of the bus. What did I do? I simply took the college entrance exam and wrote my own answers. I ruined everyone. That's ridiculous. Since when are your scores determined by me? I paused, letting my gaze sweep across those familiar, detestable faces, and enunciated every word deliberately. Things gained by stealing the fruits of someone else's hard work were never truly yours to begin with. You managed to steal before because I let it slide. No, I've simply decided to stop giving. What nonsense are you spouting? Vaughn snapped, his voice trembling with rage. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know the truth better than anyone. I leaned back in my seat, closed my eyes, and said calmly, was my inner voice really that captivating? Those words struck them like a final thunderbolt. Vaughn froze in place, while Bella's head jerked up, her eyes wide with stunned horror. They finally realized I had known the truth all along. This entire year of pretense, this year of endurance, it was all for this moment, to reclaim everything they had stolen and make them pay tenfold, 100-fold. The game is over now. I declared the final outcome the day the college entrance exam results were released. The entire school was in an uproar. The former top-tier class saw their average score plummet dramatically. Only a handful of students who had never relied on the inner voice managed to barely meet the undergraduate cutoff. As for Vaughn, Bella, and others, their results were abysmal. They didn't even reach the minimum threshold for vocational colleges, yet I, the student branded as a copycat throughout my entire senior year, defied all expectations by achieving the highest science score in the province. Nearing a perfect result, reporters swarmed in, and school administrators beamed with delight, eager to cast me as the poster child for overcoming adversity. Before the cameras, I simply smiled and offered a few words of gratitude to my teachers, leaving the past accusations unmentioned, because the ultimate revenge isn't about hurling accusations, it's about letting the undeniable facts speak for themselves. The very thing they tried so hard to steal and trample underfoot ultimately returned to its rightful place in the most dazzling way. As I looked at the pitifully low scores next to those familiar names on the transcript, and watched them break down in tears, the bitter resentment from my past life, where I'd died with unresolved grievances, finally dissipated completely from my chest. I knew that for Vaughn, Bella, and the others, every future recollection of this event would feel like a slow, torturous execution. They would spend years relentlessly chewing over the bitter fruits of their own actions, living in a state of regret and self-doubt. As for me, I would embark on a new life journey of my own. Story 2. My sister and I are twin spirit foxes. To secure the status of our fox clan, we were sent to the Fong clan for a political marriage. The crown prince of the Fong clan immediately chose me, powerful and beautiful, while my frail sister had to marry the less favored second prince. After decades of marriage, I used every means possible and barely gave birth to a weak, ordinary sparrow, while my sister bore the second prince 8 children, each a noble phoenix. The Fong king was overjoyed and immediately passed the throne to the second prince. The eldest prince resents me for ruining his future. He severs my limbs, cripples my cultivation, and brutally kills me and my child. In the second life, the eldest prince firmly chooses my sister, as he aspires to become the Fong king, but he doesn't know that my sister is not a weak and delicate girl. She has a sinister heart and isn't a good person at all. She's also obsessed with her younger sister. My sister has a secret too. She has also been reborn. The Fong clan wants to improve the strength of the next Phoenix King, so they want to form a marriage alliance with the Fox clan. My sister Luna and I are twin spirit foxes. Our mother passed away after giving birth to us, so our father despises us for the status of the Fox clan and also for the position of Fox King. Our father unhesitatingly sent me and my sister to the Fong clan to marry into their family. In my previous life, the eldest prince of the Fong clan, Xavier, set his eyes on me, a 6-tailed white fox, believing that only I was worthy of being his official consort. He eagerly married me, while my sister could only marry the less favored second prince. After decades of marriage, I tried every possible method to barely give birth to a weak and ordinary sparrow, while my elder sister bore 8 children for the second prince, each of them a noble phoenix. Xavier was filled with jealousy and locked me and my child away, torturing us. My sister's 8th child turned out to be a rare 7-colored phoenix unseen in 1,000 years, which delighted the phoenix king so much that he immediately passed the throne to the second prince. Xavier became even more jealous. He resented me for holding him back and believed I had tainted his noble bloodline. On the day the second prince ascended the throne, he cut off my hands and feet and destroyed my cultivation. I begged him to spare the child despite the excruciating pain, but he said, "This lowly brat will only bring disaster. This is your fate. As long as you die, I will certainly find another noble concubine who can bear a phoenix." Xavier brutally murdered both me and my child. I was consumed by boundless hatred and wished to tear Xavier apart to avenge my dead child. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day of the marriage alliance, looking at my older sister beside me. I felt extremely wronged and reached out to grab the corner of her clothes. My sister thought I was scared and comforted me with a smile. Not long after, the Foam King entered with the 2 princes. When I saw Xavier, my whole body stiffened. I dug my nails into my palm, forcing myself not to show any abnormality at this moment. The illusory fox spirits hovering over me and my sister fully revealed themselves before everyone without reservation. Xavier said excitedly, "Father, I want to choose Luna as my principal wife." Hearing this, I secretly glanced at Xavier and clearly saw the hatred in his eyes, as well as the intense eagerness and joy when he looked at my elder sister. Xavier has also been reborn, and I no longer fear falling into his clutches again. Xavier believes that by choosing my sister, he will be able to bear 8 phoenixes and become the new Foam King, but he doesn't know that he was born with a defective fate, lacking essence energy. Being able to give birth to a normal sparrow is already my greatest effort. When the Foam King heard that Xavier gave up on me, a 6-tailed fox, and chose his older sister, a 4-tailed fox instead, he couldn't help but frown and said, "Xavier, you have the best potential. This matter concerns the Foam clan. Don't fool around." The Foam King loves Xavier dearly, not only because Xavier has the best potential, but also because he was born to the concubine whom the Foam King cherishes the most. However, Xavier was unappreciative. He coldly said, "Father, it's precisely for the sake of the Foam clan. All things in the world emphasize balance. I choose Luna. A 4-tailed fox is not that inferior. If Luna marries me in pair, marries my second brother will also have the chance to produce a phoenix for the Foam clan." Feng Wang was extremely pleased to see Xavier being so considerate of the bigger picture. On the spot, he decided on my sister's marriage to me, named Xavier as crown prince, and then told the 2 princes, "Although the crown prince has been chosen, whoever of you bears a phoenix child shall inherit my position as King Feng. Members of the Foam clan must undergo transformation and rebirth to become Feng, but a phoenix is born as Feng. No wonder in my previous life, when my sister gave birth to 8 baby phoenixes, King Feng was overjoyed to the point of ecstasy." Xavier happily wrapped his arm around my sister's waist. Seeing her gently leaning against him made him even happier. Luna is gentle and obedient, unlike Huli who is proud and defiant. She will surely be a virtuous wife. But he didn't know that his elder sister was no delicate or weak girl. She had a cruel heart and was not a good person. My sister has always loved and cherished me dearly, treating me like the apple of her eye. She already hates Feng Wang and Xavier for treating us like commodities to be picked and chosen. The shadow of a fox swayed behind my sister, and the sunlight fell on her, making her 3 tails appear somewhat transparent. After Feng Wang left, Xavier immediately changed his tone. He embraced my sister in front of me and Prince Selim. Disdainfully, he said, "Second brother, don't place too much hope on the 6-tailed spirit fox. She can only give birth to a lowly sparrow, though judging by your condition, you probably won't even be able to produce a sparrow." After saying that, Xavier left with his sister looking at Selim's calm expression. I had just opened my mouth to say something when I heard Selim say, "My elder brother has a bad temper and speaks harshly. You don't need to take it to heart." Selim's gaze was warm as he looked into my eyes. Unlike other phoenix clan members who usually appeared aloof and superior, I lowered my head and said, "What if I really can't give birth to a Feng Huang? Then your highness would lose the throne. You could explain this to the Foam King and let him appoint a wife with better qualifications for you." Selim smiled and said, "I'm not in good health, so I don't place much importance on heirs. If we can't have a Feng Huang, it must be my problem. You are a 6-tailed spirit fox, and it is I who am unworthy to marry you. Please don't undervalue yourself." After Selim finished speaking, he took my hand and brought me back to his palace. Perhaps sensing my reluctance and fear, Selim didn't touch me, but instead let me settle in comfortably, while he moved to the side palace. The Linghu clan is nourished by spiritual energy, which improves their physical condition. The Feng clan's spiritual energy is particularly abundant. Within just a month, it helped loosen my cultivation bottleneck. Selim was very happy when He heard about it and took me to the spiritual spring to absorb energy. When we arrived at the spiritual spring, we immediately saw my elder sister and Xavier already playing inside. Xavier had dark circles under his eyes, looking as if he had overindulged, while my sister appeared even more radiant. Seeing me, my sister's eyes lit up. She quickly walked over, took my hand, and began examining me up and down. Xavier was somewhat angry. "Luna, stop spending so much time with such a lowly person. You might catch some disease." Upon hearing Xavier's words, my sister's face turned unpleasant, and soon she let go of my hand and returned to Xavier's side, saying, "Your Highness is right. Luna will bear that in mind." Xavier burst into laughter, pinching my sister's soft waist, and asked Selim how the six-tailed spirit fox tasted, whether it was exquisite. Hearing Xavier's vulgar words, both my sister and Selim frowned angrily. Xavier, this idiot, still doesn't realize he has offended two people and continues to rant. Selim could no longer hold back and transformed into a colorful phoenix. Lunging at Xavier, Xavier, unafraid at all, also transformed into his true form and began fighting fiercely with Selim. By the time the Fengwang arrived, the spiritual spring had already been nearly destroyed by them. Seeing such a scene, Fengwang's face turned grim. Looking at the battered Xavier and Selim, he angrily kicked both of them and scolded Selim. "Selim, as the younger brother, how could you fight with your older brother?" Selim lowered his head without speaking, and I couldn't bear to see Selim wronged. Just as I was about to reveal the truth, Selim pulled my hand. Xavier looked at us. Without saying a word, Fengwang looked at Xavier's wound with compassion and ordered that Selim and I be confined. But Selim's wound was clearly more serious, yet Fengwang only had eyes for Xavier. Selim held me tightly, his eyes filled with pleading, so I had no choice but to swallow back all the words I wanted to say. We returned to the palace quarters. I shook off Selim's hand and sat on the chair, feeling unhappy. Selim knelt halfway in front of me, his handsome face full of tenderness. He said, "Père, the king loves the eldest prince the most. He won't believe the eldest prince has done anything wrong. Telling the truth will be useless, and will only make the king think you're slandering him." Seeing Selim's already resigned expression, tears fell from my eyes one by one. Selim hugged my knees and rested his head against them. He looked very frail. "Père, don't cry. Once the house arrest is over, we'll leave the Feng clan together. Wherever you want to go, I'll accompany you." The Feng king ordered us to reflect on our actions in the palace quarters for 6 months. During that time, Selim planted flowers with me in the palace, cultivated abilities together with me, and even secretly sneaked out through secret passages to play outside. At the same time, we also heard many stories about how much Xavier doted on his elder sister, even dismissed the women in his palace for the sake of my elder sister, staying devoted to her alone. Upon hearing this news, I scoffed. How could Xavier truly love my elder sister when he only ever loves himself? When my elder sister couldn't give birth to a phoenix for him, he would abandon her without hesitation. However, my elder sister would never allow him to act recklessly that day. Just as I was about to sneak out to play with Selim, Xavier walked in boldly with his sister. Xavier looked around the environment in disdain and said, "You're really living in misery. Why don't you kneel down and beg me, and I might make things a bit better for you?" It turned out that those few months of barely edible food were all at Xavier's instruction. I clenched my fists, but remained silent for fear of implicating Selim too. Xavier carefully helped his sister sit down, and that's when I noticed her slightly bulging abdomen. My elder sister's face was also somewhat pale, her eyes full of exhaustion, thinking that Xavier's body couldn't easily get a woman pregnant. I felt a jolt of alarm. Xavier said proudly, "Luna is pregnant. She wanted to share this good news with you, so I brought her over to see you." My elder sister smiled sweetly and caressed Xavier's chest, wanting to talk to me alone, but Xavier hesitated. Sister said, "I'm carrying a phoenix in my belly. Even Père wouldn't dare do anything to me, Your Highness. After all, she's still my younger sister. Let's have a heartfelt talk, okay?" The last word from sister captivated Xavier so much that his eyes widened, and without thinking, he nodded. Seeing Xavier agree, sister eagerly pulled me into the house. As soon as we entered, she tightly embraced me, her tears falling onto my neck. Wet and ticklish, sister cried silently for a while before finally releasing me and gently wiping away the tears from my face. Sister said, "Père, hold on for a while longer, and everything will be okay." I don't know what sister wants to do, but seeing her pale face, my heart feels like it's soaked in bitterness, both sour and painful. I held sister's hand. She had become terribly thin. I told her, "Sister, I'm fine now. Please stop using the secret technique. Your body can't take it anymore. Xavier is destined never to have a child in this lifetime. In my previous life, I paid a great price to give Xavier a child. During the pregnancy, I had to constantly burn my own essence and blood to nourish the child, 'cause body isn't doing well, and I'm afraid she won't be able to endure it." Sister said, "No, I have absorbed part of Xavier's energy, don't worry, I will always be with you. Hearing this, I was still somewhat worried, but sister wouldn't listen to me anymore. She looked at the somewhat shabby environment in the room and frowned in displeasure. Sister tightly held my hand and said, Pear, don't worry, I will never let you get hurt again. I will protect you well this time. Xavier won't hurt you anymore. The last sentence my sister said was very soft, but I still heard it. Hearing what my sister said, I was greatly shocked and stared at her in disbelief. A thought emerging in my heart, I secretly transferred my spiritual energy into my sister's body. Her body felt extremely weak. I saw her fox silhouette and noticed she had 3 tails, and was becoming increasingly transparent. I don't know what my sister said, but Xavier immediately had Feng Wang lift our house arrest. He kept coming to our place with his sister every few days to provoke us, and her expression became increasingly unpleasant. Seeing that I always felt depressed after meeting Xavier and his group, Selim took me back to the Spirit Fox clan. Upon learning that Selim and I had returned to the clan, my father was overjoyed and immediately sent someone to bring us home. My father held my hand and asked me about my well-being with great care. After hearing the news that my sister was pregnant, his eyes kept glancing toward my stomach, but I ignored him. I brought Selim to the small courtyard where my sister and I lived. After my sister and I got married, father was too lazy to send someone to clean our courtyard. Now the courtyard was covered in layers of fallen leaves, looking very dilapidated. When Selim saw the courtyard where I lived, his expression turned a bit sour. Father smiled apologetically and said, Recently we've been short on hands, and I neglected your and Luna's courtyard. It's my fault. As soon as father finished speaking, little sister Rora approached with a group of people. Seeing the servants behind Rora, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Father's face turned pale with patches of greenish-white. He never expected to be so publicly embarrassed, especially by his beloved youngest daughter. As soon as Rora saw Selim, her eyes lit up, and she walked up to him and said, You're handsome. Why don't you become my personal favorite? Upon hearing this, father turned pale with fright. He hurriedly scolded, Rora, what nonsense are you talking? This is your second elder sister's husband, the second prince of the Feng clan. Rora pouted and muttered under her breath, Who doesn't know that the Phoenix King loves the crown prince the most? The second prince is nothing but a blade of grass. Father's body had already begun to sway, and he tightly gripped Rora's hand. He was also very clear that even the disfavored second prince was someone he couldn't possibly offend, unless he were the current leader of the Fox clan. Father scolded Rora harshly, and she, having never endured such reprimand before, ran away in tears. Selim frowned, letting his father leave. After his father left, I took Selim into the house and found it in a mess, with the bedding carelessly thrown under the bed. Looking at that worn-out bedding, my eyes suddenly filled with tears. 3. My mother passed away early, and my father brought in a stepmother not long after. My sister and I grew up like weeds in the courtyard, stubbornly surviving. We huddled together for warmth on countless cold nights, squatting outside the school to eavesdrop on lessons, until they discovered I was a 6-tailed spirit fox, after which our lives began to improve. But still, at night, we transformed into our fox forms and cuddled together as we used to. Thinking of my sister's pale face, I held Selim's hand and said, Your Highness, let's have a child. Hearing this, Selim's face turned bright red. After leaving the Fox clan, before we departed, Selim even took me to interview the current Fox King. I subtly criticized my father, saw the anger in the Fox King's eyes, and left feeling satisfied. My good father, he will never become the Fox King in this lifetime. Actually, my sister and I didn't need to go to the Fox clan for a political marriage. I am a 6-tailed spirit fox, and under my protection, my sister and I could live happily in the Fox clan. But my father, trying to please the Fox King and not wanting the Fox King's daughter to be treated like a commodity to be slaughtered at others' whim, sent my sister and me away. The Feng clan people are strong, and the Fox clan is not bad either. Otherwise, who would be willing to run to a foreign land to live? But if it weren't for my father, I wouldn't have been reborn, nor would I have fallen in love with Selim. During this period of close interaction, Selim and I were drawn to each other, and feelings began to develop, so I kindly told my father that Rora is not his bloodline. I don't want my father to be deceived. He has the right to know the truth. Selim and I came to the human world, which is truly bustling with life. I finally understand why the fairies and storybooks love coming to the mortal realm so much. It's too quiet in heaven, not as lively as the human world. The night is brightly lit with lights and filled with the sounds of people. I also really like the human world. I've never been here before, so many things seem new and fascinating to me. Things that I could only see in storybooks are now appearing right in front of me. I was eating a string of sweet and sour candied hawthorns when an old man stopped me. The old man looked at me and Selim with narrowed eyes, saying that we are a match made in heaven, destined by fate. Selim was overjoyed and gave the old man a piece of silver, making the elder happily say a few more kind words. Seeing how happy Selim was, I suddenly felt that this kind of life wasn't so bad after all. It's just a pity that we still had to return to the Feng clan and face Xavier's unpleasant face. Selim and I happily spent several days in the mortal world before the Foam King summoned us back to attend his birthday banquet. When Selim received this message, he showed obvious annoyance on his face, but he didn't say anything. I didn't say anything either. The two of us silently packed our things. I saw my sister and Xavier at the banquet. My sister's belly was frighteningly large, her face was pale, her body was very thin, and she could only walk with someone supporting her. Xavier looked even more terrifying. He had become so thin that his face was gaunt, his eyes were murky, and his eyelids were dark purple. Fengwang was also startled when he saw Xavier like this. He asked in surprise what had happened to him. Xavier gently glanced at his sister's belly and respectfully said, "Your Majesty, the child in Luna's womb is a phoenix. I did this so it could grow up healthy." As he spoke, he pretended to wipe away non-existent tears from the corner of his eyes and said, "Before, I didn't understand, but now that I have a child, my whole heart and mind are filled with thoughts of the child. I finally realized that parents would sacrifice everything for their children. I've made your Majesty's worry all these years." Fengwang was very pleased to hear Xavier's words. Then Fengwang looked at us, and his expression turned a bit colder. "Xavier already has good news. When will you and your Empress have news?" Selim smiled gently and calmly said, "Father, I'm not capable, so children are just a matter of fate." For hearing Selim's words, everyone looked at him in surprise, as it's rare for a man to admit he's not capable. "In my previous life, I was childless for decades." Xavier was furious and publicly declared that I was barren. The Foam King even gave him several concubines because of this. Now, the Foam King couldn't really say anything and just snorted coldly. When it was our turn to present gifts, Selim took out a coral tree and said to the Foam King, "Father, this is a gift specially sought for you by Per and me in the human world." Xavier scoffed. "What human treasures could be valuable? It's probably just a decorative item." Selim said warmly, "Brother, you're mistaken. Father King has seen all kinds of treasures. The gifts we prepared are merely a token of our thoughtfulness." Fengwang was very satisfied with what Selim said, and he nodded repeatedly. Seeing Fengwang praise Selim, Xavier cast several cold and sinister glances at us. The banquet soon began, and I secretly slipped away when no one was paying attention. Seeing my sister not far away, I walked forward with a pained heart. "Sister, you've suffered so much." My sister shook her head. "It'll be over soon, Per. Just wait a little longer." Although my sister's face looked pale, her voice remained strong, which relieved me slightly. During this time, Xavier has been actively promoting the idea that the child in my sister's womb is a phoenix, making everyone believe it. And Xavier himself is completely convinced as well. He believes his abilities are extraordinary. In his previous life, his elder sister married someone like Selim and was able to give birth to 8 phoenixes. Now that he has married her, he is certain he can produce 16. He feels as if he is already the Phoenix King, and sometimes even dares to defy the Phoenix King. However, the Phoenix King dotes on him and doesn't say anything. Xavier's arrogance grows stronger by the day, to the point where he even confronts me, demanding that I serve him. When Xavier stopped me, Selim was out collecting herbs for me. These past few days I have been feeling restless and sleeping poorly, so Selim went out to find calming herbs for me. I was idle and decided to take a walk outside, where I ran into Xavier. Xavier stared at me with lustful eyes. I felt disgusted by his gaze, gave him a polite bow, and tried to leave. I didn't expect Xavier to be so brazen. He blocked my way and pinched my face. "Per, what's so good about Selim? Why don't you come with me instead? When I become Fengwang, I'll spare you." Xavier's hands felt greasy, and I couldn't help but gag slightly. Seeing my expression of disgust, Xavier became angry. He grabbed my hand and dragged me into a secluded corner. "Bitch, what are you pretending for? You've been slept with so many times already, yet you still act like a chaste and virtuous lady." I struggled and summoned my spiritual energy to strike Xavier, but he easily dissipated it. I am a 6-tailed spirit fox with a 1,000 years of cultivation, the strongest among my generation in the Fox clan. Though I can't compare to a phoenix, defeating someone like Xavier, a mere lightweight, should be easy, yet my spiritual energy was so easily neutralized by Xavier. It couldn't be that he's become stronger. There's only one possibility. I'm pregnant. If it weren't for me burning my life essence in my previous life, Xavier would not have been able to kill both me and the child after birth. I hadn't even had time to feel happy before I saw Xavier's lecherous face, which quickly made me calm down. I turned to run, but Xavier grabbed me, threw me to the ground, tore at my clothes, and I struggled in despair. Xavier said, "If you struggle again, I'll kill you." Thinking of my sister, thinking of Selim, and thinking of the child in my belly, I let go. Just as Xavier was about to rip off my clothes, someone suddenly hit him on the head, and Xavier collapsed to the ground unconscious. "It's my sister, my sisters." hand trembled, her eyes were red, and the stone in her hand was dripping with blood. She kicked Xavier off me and helped me up. "Pear, are you okay? Did I come late again?" I hugged my sister. Her body trembled violently in my arms. I stroked her frail back, my heart aching. "You're not late, sister. You came just in time." A warm flow came from between my sister's legs. She was about to give birth. The news that my sister was giving birth shook the entire Feng clan. Feng Wang put down what he was doing and stood with the ministers at the palace door, where his sister's heart-wrenching screams came from inside. Xavier glared at me angrily while holding his head, and Feng Wang asked him what had happened. I quickly said, "The crown prince asked me to accompany his elder sister during childbirth, but he accidentally hit his head." I gave Xavier a warning look. He was silent for a moment, seemingly realizing that Feng Wang would scold him for forcibly taking his younger brother's wife, and he reluctantly agreed with suppressed anger. He pulled me aside and demanded, "Who knocked me out?" I looked at him disdainfully. "Am I crazy? If I told you, I'd be endangering my savior. Move aside. I need to go accompany my sister while she gives birth." 5. Pushing past Xavier, who looked as if he had just eaten shit, I entered the hall. When my sister saw me, her previously unfocused pupils immediately sharpened. She grabbed my hand but, fearing she might accidentally hurt me, quickly let go. I held her hand and said, "Sister, I'm here with you." My sister's tears fell, and she guiltily said to me, "I'm sorry, Pear, I'm so sorry I'm late." My sister spoke in a fragmented and confused way, the midwife, and I only heard her say she was late. Only I understood what my sister meant. She was feeling guilty about things from her past life, but I don't blame her. My sister and I came to the Feng clan with no support whatsoever. Even if Selim was kind, it was still difficult for my sister to rescue me from Xavier's grasp. She could only save me after becoming the queen. I didn't wait to be rescued by her, but I know that she was more eager than anyone for the second prince to ascend the throne, so she got pregnant every year. For people, pregnancy is extremely physically taxing, but my sister gave birth 8 times just for me. She endured 8 hardships. The Feng king was truly biased. She bore 8 phoenixes before finally allowing Selim to take the throne. When my sister and I were born, our mother died in childbirth. Father called us misfortune stars who killed our own mother, and he abandoned us to a small courtyard to fend for ourselves. It was mother's personal maid, Peach, who raised us. Peach doesn't have much knowledge. When she saw the moon, she named her sister Luna. Under the moon, pear blossoms were in full bloom, so I am called Pear actually. My sister used to be very lively and loved climbing trees. Many years later, our father brought our stepmother home. She disliked us at first sight, often scolded us, and even falsely accused us of stealing. Peach gave her life to clear our names. We lost Peach. My older sister used her frail body to shield me from my father's beatings and the stepmother's harsh scoldings, learning how to raise me on her own. But she was only born a little before me. She's the same age as I am. My sister didn't have enough strength left. Her head transformed into that of a fox, and I turned into a fox 2, pressing my fur against her sweaty face. Just like the countless times we had leaned on each other through cold nights before, I placed my tail in her hand. Her consciousness was already blurred, but she still gently held my tail. I transferred my spiritual energy into her body. I don't know how much time had passed, but the midwife exclaimed in surprise, "It's here. The crown princess has given birth." My sister gave birth to a frail little boy. Her face still had freckles. There was no unusual phenomenon at the horizon. Unlike in my previous life, where there was always an omen at the palace every year, I carried the child outside. Feng Wang, seeing that no omen had appeared, felt somewhat disappointed at first, but since this was his first grandchild, he happily held the child in his arms. Xavier looked at the child in disbelief, and then cast a spell to examine the child's true form. Is a sparrow. Xavier stared at the sparrow with wide eyes and a shocked expression. "Impossible. It must be your doing." He pointed at me angrily, but Selim, who rushed over, rudely knocked his hand away. "Big brother, there are midwives in the delivery room, and father and the ministers are all waiting outside. What could Pear possibly do?" Xavier still refused to believe. He even snatched the child from Feng Wang's arms, held it high, and tried to dash the sparrow to death. His hideous face overlapped with that of his previous life. I gasped in alarm. "No." As soon as I spoke, Xavier threw the child down forcefully, in a flash. Selim rushed over to catch the child and rolled on the ground several times. The force Xavier used to throw the child carried spiritual energy, and when Selim caught the child, his arm was broken. He lay on the ground in pain. The scene happened too quickly. Feng Wang came to his senses and hurriedly called for a shaman to treat Selim's hand, scolding, "Have you gone mad? That's your child too?" Xavier still shook his head desperately. He shouted, "Not my child. It must be that lowly fox, Huli." who bribed the midwife to switch my phoenix, return my phoenix to me. He lunged at me again, and Selim, already injured, couldn't save me in time. Suddenly, a burst of colorful light emanated from my belly, enveloping and protecting me tightly. When they saw the scene, the older ministers hurriedly knelt on the ground, shouting that a demon god had appeared. The demon race has difficulty conceiving. The child draws nutrients and vitality from the mother's womb. The child in my womb is a rare white Fenghuang that actively protects its mother. Unseen for thousands of years, the Feng King also directed his spiritual energy into my womb, but his energy was repelled back. The Feng King spat out a mouthful of blood, yet he joyfully said, "They're all Fenghuangs, very domineering." My spiritual energy was immediately repelled as soon as it entered, and there are 8 of them, 8 Fenghuangs. Heaven has blessed our Feng clan. Everyone present cheered except Xavier and Selim. Selim wasn't as ecstatic as they were. He worriedly held back the ecstatic shaman and said, 8 children, they won't hurt Pear, right? Carrying 1 child is already difficult, let alone 8. What can I do to keep Pear from suffering? Hearing Selim's words, I felt a warmth in my chest. 6. The shaman, smiling widely, said, Your Highness, don't worry. Just now when the eldest prince attacked the second princess consort, she was protected, indicating that the child she carries is a rare white phoenix, which will protect the second princess consort. Fenghuang was overjoyed and immediately announced his abdication, handing the throne to Selim. Upon hearing the news, Xavier let out a piteous cry and fainted. Although the white phoenix protected me from the child drawing nutrients and vitality from me, I began experiencing pregnancy symptoms similar to those of mortal women. I couldn't eat anything and was unable to sleep at night, which worried Selim greatly. He lost weight along with me. My elder sister came to visit me with her baby after finishing her postpartum confinement. She made me a bowl of vegetarian noodles. When she saw me eating them, Selim was overwhelmed with joy and left the space for us sisters. But seeing how exhausted my sister looked, I suddenly felt very guilty. I've never dared to think about this issue, but since confirming that my sister has been reborn, I suddenly realized that regardless of Xavier, I have taken my sister's husband away. Sometimes I think about how gentle and caring Selim was toward me. In his previous life, was he this gentle and caring toward my sister as well? Knowing his character, he certainly must have been. At times like these, I become extremely jealous, yet I also feel guilty. My sister has always been so good to me, yet I still end up envying her. These emotions intertwine in my mind, leaving me somewhat overwhelmed and on the verge of breaking down. Seeing my sister sit down beside me, I felt somewhat uneasy. Smiling, she asked me, What's wrong? You don't look happy to see me anymore. I remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. Sister, I had a dream where I married Xavier, and you married Selim. We were very loving. That dream felt so real, as if it were true. I still told a lie. I didn't want my sister to know that I, too, had been reborn. My sister was taken aback, her smile growing wider. These are all just dreams, but whether I married Xavier or Selim, I wouldn't be happy or in love with them. I already have someone I like in my heart. If not for father, I would have married him by now. Still, I thought again, if I married Selim, knowing his character, he would never force me. Even for the sake of having children, he would choose the method of merging blood essence, though that might be a bit more troublesome. Hearing my sister's words, I stopped crying and burst into laughter. My older sister gently hugged me and said, This is already good enough, little sister, I will always protect you. Selim did not take over Fenghuang's position. He told Fenghuang that he wanted to focus on staying with me until the birth. After thinking about the phoenix in my belly, Fenghuang agreed to Selim's request. Xavier recklessly tipped concubines. I was worried about my sister, but seeing how well she kept Xavier under control, I felt relieved. That's true, my older sister isn't like me. Although she appears delicate, her heart is black. No one knows when it started. But rumors began spreading in the palace that Xavier was inadequate and not of royal blood. The rumors grew increasingly intense until they eventually reached the ears of Fenghuang. Fenghuang was furious and ordered an investigation. In the end, it was discovered that the rumors were all true. Xavier indeed won't work. He lacks essence energy, making it extremely difficult for a woman to conceive, unless the woman happens to be of the Spirit Fox royal family and knows the Spirit Fox secret technique to burn essence blood to preserve the fetus. Xavier indeed does not have royal blood. Back then, the Phoenix King's beloved concubine actually gave birth to a female phoenix, but the concubine, that she could not inherit the throne, orchestrated a switch of the infants, replacing her with a male baby from the clan. The Phoenix King was furious and sent people to bring back the princess who had been cast out. It is said that when they found the princess, she was eating cold rice. The Phoenix King expelled Xavier from the palace and deposed his favorite concubine. Just as I was about to plead for mercy for my sister, Feng Wang declared that Luna was innocent because she was unaware of the situation, considering she is Pear's sister and was willing to burn her own essence to protect the pregnancy. The royal family cannot forget this favor. It's only a pity that Xavier is not of royal blood. So my sister became the first princess consort without a husband on my birthday. My sister mysteriously led me to a dungeon. Hearing Xavier's screams from within, she smiled and said, "I told you, since he was so particular about you back then, he deserves to be punished." My sister wouldn't let me go inside, fearing it would scare me. I know my sister's methods. Xavier must have been unrecognizable, so I didn't go inside. My sister and I were walking hand in hand through the market when I suddenly thought of the human world and brought her there. Selim was quietly protecting us from not far away. My sister has never been to the human world either. Her heart is covered by hatred, and I don't want her to suffer from hatred every day. Just then, a pair of sisters happened to pass by. The sisters were wandering through the crowd hand in hand. My elder sister picked both of them up and found a safe place to wait for their family to come looking for them. Their mother came searching for them. Her makeup was all smudged from crying. When she saw the two girls, she knelt down in front of us. After the mother and her 3 daughters left, my sister said, "In the hardest times before, I often wondered what it would be like if my mother were still alive. Now I finally know." My sister hesitated for a moment, and then nervously asked me, "Per, if one day I didn't manage to save you in time and you suffered, would you resent me?" I shook my head and said seriously to my sister, "I won't blame you, because I know you must have been on your way to save me. But you suffered because I didn't arrive in time, but I'm not suffering now." That's true. The day I gave birth to a phoenix, everyone in the Feng clan was too excited to sleep. They all waited outside the palace, anticipating the phoenix's birth. 7. No wonder they were thrilled. 8 phoenixes born at once. What a tremendous miracle. My elder sister was watching over me, and I shuddered as I recalled the pain of being born as a sparrow in my previous life. My elder sister also knows that my childbirth this time was difficult, and she wished to endure the pain for me, but to my surprise, my childbirth this time went exceptionally smoothly, without any pain. Thinking about the white phoenix mentioned by the shaman, my sister and I couldn't help but smile at each other. The young phoenixes were born one after another. The sky brightened, hundreds of flowers bloomed, birds sang joyfully, and a gentle rain fell upon the world. A vast glow of rosy clouds covers the Feng clan. Among these 8 phoenixes, a rare white phoenix indeed appears. The Phoenix King is overjoyed. He waits by the door, eagerly watching for the little phoenix to emerge. The ministers rush to see the young phoenixes, and the white phoenix emerges last. I fall into a deep sleep. When I woke up, Selim was by my bedside. His pale, smooth face was covered in stubble. I heard from a maid that during my childbirth, Selim was even more nervous than I was. After I gave birth safely and they confirmed that I was fine, Selim finally relaxed and fainted. When he woke up, he came right to my bedside to watch over me. I slept for 3 days and 3 nights. Suddenly, all memories from my previous life faded away. I could only recall a vague outline, but the specific details were gone. As I looked at the children, I saw the 3rd child's eyes. They were exactly the same as those of my child from my past life. My hands trembled as I turned him over, and I discovered a familiar red mole on his waist. It's my poor child from a past life. He has returned again. Selim still hasn't taken the throne. He said I worked hard giving birth and wants to accompany me to relax properly. The Feng King helplessly takes care of the baby while handling official duties. My older sister focuses on raising her child in the palace, and also raises my child, occasionally bringing my child to find me. The children were all well behaved, and Feng Wang decided that Bai Feng Huang would be the new Feng Wang, but it will still be a long time before he steps down. Selim absolutely refused to have more children, complaining, "Since these 8 little ones were born, you've barely spent any time with me anymore." Selim and I were walking down the street when we met a middle-aged man who said we were a match made in heaven, destined by fate to grow old together. Selim still happily took out a silver ingot. I looked at the middle-aged man and suddenly thought of that old man from years ago. The eyebrows and eyes look exactly the same as that man. They were indeed right. It's truly a match made in heaven, eh? Fate-determined romance. 14. Luna's extra story. On the day Luna and her younger sister Per arrived at the Feng clan, Xavier chose her younger sister right away. They didn't hesitate or pick between the candidates like choosing merchandise. Watching her younger sister marry the favorite eldest prince, Luna felt relieved. Her sister was beautiful and powerful, and deserved the best, becoming the Feng queen. She married the unfavored Selim, and on their wedding night, she confessed to Selim that she had someone she loved. She had expected Selim to angrily divorce her, but he didn't. He respected Luna and promised that after some time, he would officially separate from her so she could go find her lover. But before they could separate, something happened on the sister's side. She overheard Xavier complaining that her sister didn't know how to be charming, saying that once he became the Feng King, he would divorce her. Luna had no choice but to cooperate with Selim. They fused their essence and blood. Although Selim looked frail, he was able to help Luna breed phoenixes. Luna gave birth to the fifth phoenix, but the Foam King still refused to hand over the throne to Selim, and by now his sister had already been suffering terribly under Xavier's torment. Selim worries about her body, but thinking of her suffering sister, she grits her teeth and becomes pregnant again. Meanwhile, Luna secretly plots in the shadows. She plans to replace everyone in the palace and eventually gives birth to her eighth phoenix, a rare seven-colored phoenix unseen in 1,000 years. The Phoenix King still refuses to hand over the throne to Selim. Unable to wait any longer, Luna poisons the Phoenix King, forcing him to hand the throne to Selim. When the Phoenix King is about to break free from her control, she stabs him to death. When she rushes to save Pear, Pear has just been brutally killed by Xavier. Even if she had arrived a moment earlier, Luna hated Xavier so much that she locked him up and tortured him. One day, she went too far and killed him. Luna died from depression. When she woke up again, she found herself reborn, seeing her lively younger sister by her side. Luna was overwhelmed with emotion. At this point, she discovered that Xavier had also been reborn. That fool, Xavier, had forgotten how he died in his past life after enduring prolonged torture, and now believed he was a delicate, helpless vine. In this life, she used the phoenix in her womb to trick Xavier into giving his essence to the child, draining his body completely. She revealed Xavier's origins again. Xavier was ruined, but her younger sister married the man she loved and is living a happy life. The child Luna gave birth to didn't resemble Xavier at all, but was instead a very honest and kind-hearted person. That was a relief, at least sparing her from killing her own son. Today she met the man she had loved in her youth. He was still alone and had been waiting for Luna all along. Luna was overjoyed and grabbed a whip, rushing to the dungeon to give Xavier a severe beating. This time, she can control her strength properly. Xavier will certainly not be in mortal danger. Story 2, the extreme cold arrived, and my boyfriend couldn't afford a high-power heater, so he asked me to let his family move into my villa. More people mean more safety. My boyfriend didn't act submissive for 3 days before he took it upon himself to kick out my bodyguards and servants and take over my master bedroom. His mother called me a shameless slut who had 4 boyfriends. His father kicked my dog to death and ate its meat and bones. Later, as the temperature continued to drop, my boyfriend's family used up all the food I had stored, yet he ignored my desperate pleas and pushed me out to get food. I was wearing a thin shirt and had barely walked a few steps when I froze to death in the hallway. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day when the TV was reporting the continuously dropping temperatures. My boyfriend sent me a message to make up, and I coldly smiled and deleted him and blocked him. News reports are everywhere about the extreme cold warning, and the whole country will be hit by extreme cold over the next half month. The hot search topics about extreme cold and stockpiling keep rising. I curled up in bed, letting the familiar ringing sound keep going nonstop. Unlike the netizens who are still actively discussing ways to cope, I am not. I feel only relief and fear from surviving this ordeal. Lying in the warm coral velvet blanket, the air conditioner's warm air blows, but it takes a long time to warm me up. But I still dare not move, fearing that this would be like the last dream of the little girl selling matches before she died. If I move, I might return to that bone-chilling hell. The phone keeps ringing, a ringtone I specially set for my boyfriend, but to me it sounds particularly sarcastic and ridiculous. Last time, it was also this time. My college boyfriend Kian called me, and I answered with great joy, only to be met with Kian's orders, his parents' insults, and his younger siblings' commanding attitude. Faye, you said you have a villa here at the university, and you're not living there alone, so can I stay there for a few days? It's going to be half a month of extreme cold, and I'm staying at my hometown. It's inconvenient to do anything, especially the earthen stove. I'm afraid I won't even be able to start a fire. Also, you know, I'm very clean. I'm afraid I won't even be able to wash my clothes. It should have been me helping him, but the other side of the person spoke as if it was natural. Last time, I was afraid he would not have a good time during this extreme cold, and after he said that, I agreed. I didn't pay attention to the fact that his contempt concealed such a twisted concept. At that time, I even arranged a driver to pick them up at my villa. I also arranged the housekeeper to try to meet their needs as much as possible, but I didn't pay attention to the key point. How did Kian know I had a villa here at the university? This thing was only known to my best friend. As soon as I entered the university, Kian started to chase me. While chasing me, he would cry to me about his tragic life story. His father was lame, his mother was sick, and he had 2 younger brothers and sisters still in school. The whole family relied on him to support them. I always felt sorry for him and admired him, thinking he was not easy. So I transferred the living expenses my parents sent me to him. After we got Together, Kian would ask me for money more easily than ever. It made me always have only a few tens of yuan left in my phone. Once I went out and wanted to have a cup of milk tea, but when I tried to pay, I found I didn't have enough money. I called him to ask him to return 100 yuan, but he said that I shouldn't want back the things I had given him, which was really ungrateful. He even blamed me for wanting to have milk tea, saying that his mother and sister didn't even know what milk tea was. I was scared by his convincing words and thought it was my fault. Finally, a friend who was with me paid for me. Since then, I never asked Kian for money again. Looking back, the money he borrowed from me added up to tens of thousands of yuan. All of that was the living expenses I sent him, sacrificing my own quality of life. But when I wanted to have the most basic cup of milk tea, he still scolded me. A girl who had been spoiled all her life had never experienced such before. Gradually, I became smarter and no longer involved in any financial matters with Kian. He keeps saying his family is in a bad situation, that he's poor. I also cried about how pitiful I was. As for the fact that I also have a villa, I was even afraid to let him know that it was my coming-of-age gift. My best friend also guessed it through video calls with me. In the previous life, I was still too soft-hearted, but I also underestimated the most primitive evil of Kian's family. I thought that even if I let them move in, there were bodyguards and servants. They were too reckless, but I had countermeasures. Until the day they moved in, they used the excuse that outsiders were inconvenient and lacked supplies to kick everyone out while I was sleeping. After they had taken all the supplies in my villa, they even made me go out to find food. In the freezing cold, I was kicked out by Kian wearing only my pajamas, and I was already stiff all over before leaving the courtyard. I couldn't bear it anymore. I had to beg Kian to open the door and let me in to put on more clothes. The response I got was their family laughing and enjoying the air conditioning and a small heater. I thought the lady was so impressive, but she still had to kneel and beg us. Anyway, women can't be spoiled. Once they are trained, they can obediently give birth when they marry into our family. I was with her because I liked her big butt. It's good for having sons. Thinking about my past, I unblocked and deleted Kian in one go without any hesitation. Such an annoying person. Better let them die on their own. I opened an online supermarket and ordered all kinds of warm clothing and emergency tools. My parents are still abroad visiting my grandmother. I called them to remind them to be prepared for the extreme cold. Although they are currently in the tropics, I'm still worried about something going wrong. Hearing my concern, my parents were deeply moved. And my grandparents also thought I had grown up and was considerate. Without a word, they gave me a black card with no spending limit. They also told me to stay at home and not go out. This is the real love I have, surrounded by love. I would never have imagined there could really be someone like Kian in the world, a despicable guy who can fake and likes to manipulate. My thoughts were interrupted by the cute fleece chocolate rushing over to cuddle with me. In the previous life, it was kicked to death by Kian's father, who said that eating dog meat could keep warm. Under my crying, chocolate was cooked and eaten. What was even more ridiculous was that, to show his authority, he forced my head down and had Kian pour the soup into my mouth. Hatred surged in my heart, but the urgent task was to go and retrieve the supplies I had ordered. The traffic in the large high-end supermarket was not very busy. With a few strong bodyguards, I started directing the purchase. In the extreme cold weather, it's important to pay attention to warmth. Although the villa has central air conditioning, just in case, I bought 10 more upright air conditioners, one for each servant's room, and then I waved my hand and bought 20 more electric heaters. I also bought 2 generators. After all, energy is very important for daily supplies. I handed the manager the list of needs prepared by the butler, and to be safe, I bought double the amount for everything. As the staff was moving things, I set my eyes on the refrigerator nearby. I just packed and bought it, including the ice pops and ice cream inside. It's hard to imagine lying in a warm bed, enjoying the warm air conditioning while eating icy ice cream. How happy that would be. There are also hot pot ingredients, eating braised beef while watching variety shows and binge-watching dramas. This life is too dreamy. This time, I will never myself again. Everything is ready, waiting for the extreme cold. The last time I went out to walk the dog, someone grabbed me at the corner. I fell to the ground without being prepared. Why didn't you answer my call? Do you know how much I had to go through to find you? Kian didn't help me up when I fell. Instead, he scolded, "You live in a villa alone. Do you understand? We are a family living with you. I'm going to bring them over now." I was stunned. I never thought that Kian would come all the way from a remote village in the south to this school in the north, and he would look for me within my activity range. I had intentionally hidden from him that I have a villa, and no one knows the address. How did he find this place? I forced a smile and asked, "Kian, how did you come here?" "What do you mean, how did you come here? You didn't lend me your phone, and now you're blaming me." "Let's not talk about that now. The total expenses we've spent to find you, including the travel cost, accommodation cost, and the phone call cost, is over 1,000. Round it up and reimburse me 2,000. I laughed at his shameless attitude. Seeing that I didn't react, Kian didn't help me up, but directly dragged me towards the residential area. Due to the gender difference, I couldn't break free, and my arm was painfully pulled, probably bruised on the way. Kian also called his family. Dad, I found her. I'll bring you back soon, I said. Women are all lowlife. They can't be given a good face. A few slaps and they'll know who's the real boss. You move quickly. The hotel just called to ask for checkout. Exactly. If that girl doesn't obey, you shouldn't indulge her. I was right next to him. He seemed to have no clear concept about how loud his old phone was. He even agreed, letting his parents spew out all sorts of filthy words, listening to their curses, and seeing Chocolate closely following me. I no longer wanted to let them go. In this second life, I never thought about taking revenge on them. I just wanted to stay far away and cut my losses as soon as possible, but they insisted on provoking me. You have a path to heaven, but you don't take it. You come to hell without its door. Then don't blame me for being ruthless before. I was just not thinking straight and loved Kian, willingly lowering myself for love. But this time, what is Kian? I won't myself for him anymore. This time, it's my turn to strike. Taking out my phone, I contacted the real estate developer Maverick. The property prices here are high, and the location is also remote. As a result, there are still many unsold villas in this area. The occupancy rate is only one family. I chose this place originally for its quietness, and now I want even more quietness. Maverick, how many villas are still unsold in this area? Only 2 villas have been sold, and one more is now being put up for sale again. I smiled, waved my hand, and bought all the villas in the area. Maverick called me immediately, thanked me profusely, and offered to decorate the house. I adjusted the decoration to a very cold-styled too. As for the purpose of buying all these unfinished houses, it was naturally to let Kian's family live in them. At least I provided them with a villa, and they should be thanking me. As for the unfinished houses, I am willing to spend money to make them suffer, and they should be grateful to me. Transfer payment. While Kian was still being influenced by his father's twisted ideas, I calmly took the keys from the property manager. They were selected the largest villa, with high ceilings and spacious. It would surely freeze to death when the extreme cold comes. I led Kian past the villa I used to live in, and brought him to the villa I personally selected for them. As soon as we entered the courtyard, Kian was shocked by the appearance of the large and exquisite villa. Pushing the door open, my heart sank again. You bought a villa, but you don't have money to renovate it. I pretended not to understand. Yes, the money I had planned to use for renovation was given to you. That's why I used to always stay in the dormitory. Now that it's vacation, I can only live here temporarily, but don't worry, this place is livable. Kian frowned as he examined the cement walls and exposed pipes. In the end, he couldn't let go of the opportunity to live in a villa for the first time in his life, so he ordered me to clean it first, clean off the dust, then buy a few beds. My family can't sleep on the floor when they come. Also, install air conditioning throughout the entire villa. Install air conditioning throughout the entire villa. You really have nerve. Suppressing the mockery in my heart, I feigned an innocent expression. The bed does need to be bought, but the air conditioner, the house doesn't have electricity yet. There's nothing I can do about it. Kian's face twitched. He was angry and told me to quickly figure out how to buy the basic furniture. He was going to pick up his family right now. I stopped Kian. Kian spoke to me in a bad tone. What now? I hesitated and smiled. Kian, I don't have money to buy the bed. Can you transfer some to me? Also, the toilet and washing machine need to be bought. They all cost money. Kian pushed me away and shouted, where did your money go? Aren't you the one who just told me to renovate? I used the money to pay the deposit. Seeing that Kian still didn't want to give money, I continued to add fuel to the fire. In winter, using a bucket to go to the toilet isn't impossible, but if those dirty clothes are worn for too long, they won't be warm and will have a smell. Kian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. After thinking for a while, he finally gave in. This is really troublesome. Give me 2,000 yuan and buy everything back. Also, buy me a bathtub. I need to take a shower. This is a loan to you. Don't forget to pay me back. I sincerely thanked him and accepted his first transfer. Before, when he was in school, Kian was often criticized for having a smell, so he always paid extra attention to washing his clothes, even though many of them became white and worn out from washing. Indeed, only by truly hitting his weakness would he be willing to spend money. The plan went smoothly, and I left with a light step. Everything was ready, just waiting for the good show to start. On the way, I contacted the community manager who was specifically assigned to me, asking him to arrange workers to install the surveillance system in the largest and most secluded villa. Kian wanted to install air conditioners, right? Due to the circumstances, we changed it to surveillance instead. The electricity was naturally approved. I specifically instructed to cut off all circuits except for the surveillance system. As for the surveillance Make sure it's installed discreetly, have the bodyguard send me to the furniture store, bought 3 folding spring beds, and also a defective washing machine. As for the remaining money, it's only enough to buy a shower bucket, of course not the kind I would use, but a shower bucket made of a waterproof bag. It's not that I don't want to, it's just that there's not enough money. I can already imagine that they will only feel warmth in this cold villa when taking a hot shower. I'm really looking forward to seeing them fight over this broken shower bucket. In order to see their ugly behavior sooner, I bought 2 large family meals, as well as 6 full cups of iced cola and 6 cups of iced Sprite. They probably have never eaten a hamburger fast food before. They will definitely eat it greedily, increasing the burden on their stomachs. Also, they will probably not eat all of it at once, and will split it into 2 meals. The cold and greasy food going down, paired with the ice drinks I prepared for 2 meals, will make them feel terrible, let alone that I don't even want them to eat the first meal while it's hot. Also bought some expired convenience foods and yogurt. I just want them to have something to eat. I also bought some miscellaneous cold-natured exotic fruits. Just eat them carelessly, and they'll be silent after eating them. The most important thing is, I didn't buy them toilet paper. Not to mention toilet paper, I even carefully picked out the receipt from the shopping bag, and all the delivery paper bags were replaced with plastic bags at my request. I wanted to see just how clean Kian really was. When I brought the things back, Kian's eyes were wide with shock, his face looked like a spilled paint palette, and he pointed at me for a long time before finally speaking. You only bought these things back. My bathtub has turned into a trashy tub, I pouted and said, also feeling. It's because you only gave me that money, which was only enough to buy these things. Also, you asked for a bathtub, which costs thousands, but I still remembered you and bought you a tub, and you're still complaining. He didn't give up, and came over to question me. Where did the money your parents gave you go? As soon as I finished speaking, I became dramatic and broke away from him, crying. My parents don't approve of us being together, but I really don't want to break up with you. Then they cut off my allowance. Kian, I only have you now. Also, the last time, it wasn't that I intentionally didn't answer your calls, it was my mom who deleted your contact information from my phone. Later, when they saw I didn't contact you, they thought I had moved on, so they went back home. After this outburst, I explained all the unreasonable things clearly and dispelled Kian's doubts about me. He didn't argue with me anymore. Just decided to go to the supermarket again and told me to go with him to carry the things. I nodded meekly, but in my heart I was already cursing them. In my previous life, I kindly let them move in. They ate my food, used my things, and even didn't let me sit at the table for meals. They said I wasn't considered a family member yet because I hadn't given birth to a son, and I could only eat the leftovers they had left. But their whole family was like hungry ghosts, and no matter how much food they made, they could always eat it all clean most of the time. I couldn't even get a single bite. As for sleeping, they said I couldn't sleep higher than them, so I had to sleep on the floor in the balcony every night. I hugged myself tightly, listening to my hungry stomach growling and eventually falling into a daze and sleeping every time. I was afraid to see the sun tomorrow, yet also scared of not seeing it. This unbearable feeling should also be something they experienced. Kian wanted to stock up on more things, but his wallet wouldn't allow it. I pretended to be shopping in the supermarket, while I was carrying big bags and small packages behind, which was very tiring, but I don't feel wronged. Instead, I'm full of energy, because I made full use of my initiative, and with the cooperation of the surrounding bodyguards, I replaced Kian's carefully selected dishes with rotten vegetables still containing eggs, and also replaced the eggs with spoiled ones. Eating vegetables with eggs is also my way of being considerate to their family, and it's a good intention to make sure they can get enough protein. The world is really rare to have a girl as virtuous as me. Back to the house, Kian just opened the door. His brother and sister rushed out and directly knocked me to the ground. His brother is only in elementary school, but his weight is equivalent to 2 of me. Not only did I fall to the ground, but also the eggs I was carrying broke all over the place. Hearing the noise, Kian's mother came out, without even looking at me on the ground. She first went over to check her youngest son for injuries, then shouted at me while pointing to the broken eggs on the ground. 3, you stupid woman, not only did you knock over my precious son, but you also can't hold things properly. Do you know how expensive eggs are? You broke so many. Can you afford them? His sister also shouted at me, you dirty woman, you dirty woman. Last time, Vale was jealous of my delicate eyebrows and not only shaved them off while I was sleeping, but also cut my hair that I had kept for several years. I was so angry I wanted to get back at her, but the servants and bodyguards had already been fired by her family in advance. Alone, I was knocked down by Kian's father. What's all the noise about? Disturbing my sleep. I couldn't get up for a while and looked at Kian, hoping he would say something fair, but he just followed his father's words. Dad, thanks for helping me discipline her. Women need to be beaten. Hearing his words, I felt absurd. This is what my boyfriend of 2 years said. What does it mean by helping me? I'm not his possession. In despair, tears kept flowing out. Cry, cry, cry. Don't cry like a shameless person. You're even getting upset. Come over and do the laundry. It's your fault you got up so late. Kian's mother came out of the laundry room and with an icy, rough hand grabbed my collar and dragged me to the laundry room to do the washing. As soon as I got to the laundry room, I was shocked. It turned out that the small packages they brought were all unwashed dirty clothes. They came here intending to use the washing machine, but they didn't know how to use my fully automatic washing machine. In frustration, Kian's mother completely broke the washing machine. Then she dragged me over to wash the clothes. Looking at the clothes covered in dirt and emitting a sour smell, I couldn't help but vomit. This immediately triggered Kian's mother's nerves, and she sat down at the door and started wailing, "Hey, son, look at the woman you found. She can't do any work. And she fakes being sick just to wash clothes. She even dares to look down on her own mother-in-law. City girls are just not as hardworking as girls from the countryside. Disgraceful. It's a sin." Kian was so angry after his mother's words that he pushed me into the laundry room and locked the door, daring to show me your face in front of my mother. "You won't be allowed to come out until you have washed all the clothes." I ended up washing their family's clothes in icy cold water. It's impossible to clean thoroughly. The oil stains on the clothes are layered with dirt, no matter how many times I rub them, new dirt keeps appearing. The water is always murky and has a strange smell that even the laundry detergent can't cover up. I rubbed and scrubbed until my hands were red and purple, swollen like 10 radishes. Before I could barely finish washing, my nose was full of a strange mix of laundry detergent and sour smell. By nightfall, I was finally let out, and as soon as I stepped outside, my legs gave out and I collapsed. Kian's family looked at my frozen, abnormally swollen fingers, and probably thought I was sick. They sent me to the balcony, and from then on, I was not allowed to enter the room anymore. As for Kian, he was an accomplice from the beginning. At that time, I no longer had any attachment to Kian, only a surging hatred remained. As for the other members of Kian's family, they should go to the 8th level of hell and never be reborn. The 3 beds I bought, as expected, are for 3 men from Kian's family, Kian's mother, Vale, and I can only sleep on the floor. Even I can't sleep on the floor. After all, I'm still an outsider. I grabbed Kian's sleeve and said, "Kian, I'm a bit hungry." After hearing this, Kian paused for a moment, as if going through a fierce internal struggle, and finally just handed me a Sprite. "There are only 6 hamburgers, and the chicken nuggets aren't enough to eat. You should take this opportunity to lose some weight." He said it confidently, but he never looked at me the whole time. I wasn't surprised. People like him can do anything normal. The reason I'm still here pretending to be with him is just to take the lives of his whole family. The temperature gradually dropped, and the phone's butler was also urging me to go back, with the bodyguard waiting not far away. Thinking about the conditions here being so harsh, I don't want to live such a miserable life with their family. Besides, they want to boss me around. I wish they would die, but I'm not crazy enough to throw myself into it. I endured until nightfall, then pretended to have a sudden idea, and forcefully knocked over Kian's mother and Vale. Kian's mother immediately shouted, "You bitch, are you out of your mind? You haven't even entered the Kian family yet, and you're already trying to poison the mother-in-law." Just like in his previous life, he still likes to twist things around, using those outdated feudal rituals to discipline me. Before, I still loved Kian, and didn't want him to be caught between me and his mother, so I always took the initiative to yield to Kian's mother. But now, I only feel sorry for her. She is also a victim of feudal etiquette and tradition, but now she can easily turn into an oppressor without any memory of it, having gotten drenched in the rain. She also wants to tear up someone else's umbrella, but a pitiable person must also have something hateful about them, thinking about all the things she has done to me before. I don't feel sorry for her. She deserves it. Kian's family, when others heard Kian's mother's words, gathered around as well. Kian's father came over and slapped Kian's mother without hesitation. Others also remained indifferent, as if this was a common occurrence. After slapping, Kian's father turned his head and looked at me. He had already proven his authority, and now it was my turn to come up with a reason that would not get me beaten. I suddenly remembered that I had a cabinet full of instant noodles and snacks in my dormitory, but I forgot to bring them over. Kian's father narrowed his eyes and started thinking. "Kian pushed me. How could you forget something like that? Go get them right away. There's not enough food at home. If something is missing, you will be the first to starve." I pretended to be hesitant. "The extreme cold has arrived. It's very cold outside. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back if I go out." Last time, after the extreme cold arrived, they starved for a few days and then used a combination of threats and promises to send me out to find food. This time, they haven't experienced the extreme cold yet, and they haven't shown their true nature for food, but they are still greedily persuading me to go get food, so that I can truly become a Kian's family member. I pretended to be determined, and also tipped Kian's only down jacket. He was originally unwilling, but the prospect of instant noodles and snacks in my mouth was too tempting. After hesitating, he still handed it over to me. I was sent out of the house by his family after Closing the door, I heard the sound of it being locked from the inside, and Kian's father's warning, "If you don't get it back, you don't need to come back." Laughable. Who would want to go back anyway? I stepped out of the door and didn't intend to continue the act. As I stepped out of the villa gate, the guards waiting there immediately draped a fur coat over me, riding in a car with the heater on full blast. I was escorted back to my warm home by the guards and servants. The inside of the house was as warm as the outside was cold. Upon seeing me return, chocolate excitedly circled around me, and the butler served me the warm medicinal porridge that had been prepared in advance. The steaming hot meals were served on the table. This is the life I should be enjoying. I slept until I woke up naturally, took out my phone and saw that the temperature had dropped to 50 degrees below zero, and it would continue to fall. The extreme cold has finally arrived. I called my family, and they also experienced the extreme cold, but with my reminder, they were well prepared and their daily life was not affected at all. Now, the last concern is resolved. The butler brought me today's breakfast, which was my favorite hula tang, spicy soup. After drinking a bowl, I felt warm all over. With the indoor temperature maintained at 28 degrees, I could only wear short sleeves to avoid feeling too hot. I lay in bed and decided what to eat for lunch. Then went to the home theater to watch a movie I had wanted to see for a long time. After watching one, I remembered the Kian family, switched the scene to my prepared surveillance video, and I laughed out loud as the Xia family all sat on different buckets pooping in the living room. They finished all the fried chicken and burgers I brought back. From the trash bag's perspective, it should be Kian's family, the three men, who finished 6 burgers and most of the fried chicken. As for Kian's mother and Vale, they probably only got a few chicken nuggets. No wonder the 3 men had more twisted expressions. Watching their twisted expressions, I felt the stench was about to burst out of the screen and come after me. It's really disgusting and nauseating. I switched to the next movie to avoid affecting my appetite for lunch. In the past, I was always tied up with various trivial matters, unable to find 2 hours to sit down and watch a movie, only able to watch 3-minute movie reviews and pretend I had seen it. Even playing always came with a sense of guilt. Now, looking back, it's been a long time since I last did something I truly wanted to do without any burden or guilt. Let's do it now. Take up my old hobbies and explore future goals. Another 5 days have passed, and my life is happy and peaceful. Every day I confirm the menu with the housekeeper and have video calls with my family. Life is going smoothly. My life corresponds to the life of Kian's family. After several days, the Kian's family people have changed completely. They are all wearing dirty clothes, huddled together and shivering. The vegetarian food is all gone, and now they can only cook, but the vegetables they bought earlier had insect eggs, and now the bags are full of insects. Under the command of Kian's father, Kian's mother and Vale have to pick the insects out. For even so, can the food made from vegetables almost eaten by insects be delicious? The answer is obvious. Zane just took a bite and then spat it out forcefully. The saliva splattered all over the table's food. Kian, who always prided himself on being clean, suddenly exploded, slapping Zane's face. Not satisfied, he grabbed a nearby chair to hit him. Kian's mother panicked and stood in front of Zane, but her small figure could not possibly stop Zane, who was so fat he seemed to overflow. Finally, Zane pushed Kian's mother aside and kicked her in the chest. Kian's mother cried out in agony. Zane did not stop, but instead became even more violent. "It's all your fault, you old woman, for making such terrible food. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten slapped. My father didn't beat you enough. You really deserve it." Vale stood there in a daze, numbly watching everything unfold. In her eyes, I saw a strange and terrifying light. Kian's father and Kian, influenced by Zane, could no longer contain the evil buried in their hearts and joined the beating of Kian's mother. As Kian's mother's pleas for mercy grew more desperate, Vale, already thin and pale from hunger, slowly moved toward the food. In the chaotic background noise, I saw Vale's immersive eating broadcast. She ate quickly, even swallowing the food whole. Before long, the food of the 3 people at the table was all in her stomach. As the 3 men released their emotions, the table was licked clean of even the broth by Vale. Before the 3 men could recover from their shock, Kian's mother, who had just been screaming, got up with a bruised face and pointed at Vale, shouting at her, "I knew you were a money-eating wretch. How could I give birth to such a wretch who only knows how to eat?" Saying that, she rushed towards Vale, venting all her anger on her after being beaten by the 3 men. Her fists rained down on Vale. Vale also roared, "You act like you're not also a money-eating wretch. You can't even have children now. You're the real money-eating wretch." The 2 of them didn't back down, and their fight was so fierce that the 3 men on the side couldn't get involved. This absurd event ended with Vale being beaten by 4 people together. Vale was lying on the ground, staring intently at the distance. By switching the surveillance perspective, I saw her twisted eyes and understood the light in them, which was named hatred. After nightfall, in the extreme cold, the temperature was even more terrifying. While Zane was secretly getting up in the middle of the night to look for food, Vale knocked him out from behind and dragged him to the staircase without making a sound. She went back to her original place and started shouting, "Mom and Dad, the younger brother is missing. What should we do?" Kian's father did not scold Vale for waking him up this time. Instead, he urgently asked where Zane had gone. Vale lowered her head and pretended to be worried, saying, "I just went to the bathroom, and I saw him in the kitchen looking for food. He might have gone out to look for food." Considering Zane's personality, doing such a thing was not unusual. Hearing the howling cold wind outside, and feeling the bone-chilling cold even indoors, Kian's mother burst into tears. "Oh my son." Kian's father grabbed Vale's hair and slammed her against the wall. "You useless bitch. I raised you in vain. You couldn't even take care of your younger brother. I didn't mean to. I won't again. It won't happen again." Vale, speaking incoherently and with a crying tone, was explaining, but it was clear from the surveillance that she didn't shed a single tear. Kian's father, still angry, hit her a few more times, then pulled Kian's mother out of the door to go find the eldest son. Kian was nowhere to be found, and he didn't appear at all from the beginning to the end. Once they had gone far away, Vale immediately crawled to the door and locked it. Then she went back to the place where she was hiding Zane, and after a long time, Vale came out alone again. She was radiating an abnormal heat, her forehead was sweating, and her face was filled with a happy smile. What did she go and do? Before I could figure it out, Vale took a knife from the kitchen and was wandering around the villa looking for Kian. Finally, I found Kian on the third-floor bathroom, hearing the sound of water. Vale opened the Pandora's box. It turned out that Kian found that the pipes here could flow hot water, so he brought the bathtub I bought earlier here to take a bath and warm up. He didn't tell anyone for fear that the family members would compete with him. It's my fault for forgetting that the property here provides hot water. No wonder I couldn't find Kian in the surveillance, because the steam from his bath was so thick that the camera lens was covered with water mist, and it couldn't see anything. When Vale walked in, Kian felt like he was caught in the act and became angry, yelling at Vale to get out, but soon, his voice started to tremble. Then I heard a loud sound of water. A moment later, the surroundings became quiet. Vale turned off the faucet that was continuously pouring hot water. I was finally able to see the scene in the bathroom. The walls were stained with splattered red, and Kian was scattered in pieces around the bathroom. Under the moonlight, I saw Vale's twisted smile on her face. She had completely gone mad, her face filled with a twisted smile, and her whole body looked like a demon from hell. But I wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, I found it really exhilarating. Outside the door, the butler knocked to ask if I wanted a midnight snack. I answered loudly, and turned off the surveillance screen. Kian's family, not a single one will survive. Kian is dead. If Zane didn't make a mistake, he should have been dealt with by Vale as well. As for Kian's father and mother, Vale would no longer let them in. Without the shelter of the house, they would only freeze to death outside. Vale will soon starve to death without food, which is truly a cause for celebration. For their family's fate, I can only say that the wheel of karma turns well. 5. In the days that followed, I comfortably stayed at home eating, watching TV, and playing games. Life was very pleasant. This life's extreme cold lasted longer than the previous one, almost a month. I had the foresight to stock up on plenty of supplies, and with the butler, servants, and bodyguards, I smoothly got through this disaster that made the whole world shudder. On the 27th day, the sun came out, and the sunlight shone everywhere, melting the ice. The extreme cold of 70 degrees below zero finally ended, and the thermometer was slowly rising. The world finally returned to peace after the chaos. Opening the window, the outside temperature had dropped to an acceptable level of cold. The bodyguard went to check if anything was damaged in the yard and came back to tell me that there were 2 frozen beggars in the distance. I smiled and just said that the property management would take care of it. I thought of the surveillance cameras that had not been opened for days and checked them again. In the video, there were 2 broken bodies, not far away. A withered woman with blood on her face was eating worms crawling on the ground. I held back the urge to vomit and turned off the surveillance. Soon, the sound of police sirens came from outside, and several ambulances and police cars passed by me. I knew I was going to pick up Vale, and I had no interest in getting involved anymore. I roughly understood why Vale was still alive today. She survived by eating her own brother and the continuously hatching worms from the previous eggs. A severe cold exposed too many dark sides of human nature. But even so, Vale's actions were still too shocking. Even though she is a minor, the court made a swift and severe judgment. After all, she killed 4 family members in a row, and she could not escape the death penalty. On the day of the trial, I specifically went to observe it. From a distance, I witnessed the final outcome of this evil family's last person. When leaving, Vale seemed to see me and screamed excitedly. Several men couldn't hold her back, and she was quickly given a sedative by the doctors. Facing her resentful gaze, I smiled and brushed back the hair that once made Her envious and irritated in the previous life, turning around, I left without looking back. The extreme cold has passed, and the spring festival is coming. My best friend's family faced a broken capital chain during this extreme cold, and she originally wanted to ask me to lend some money to help her family get through this crisis. I coldly refused. I couldn't forget that it was she who told Kian about my house. People who have stabbed me in the back like this, how could I possibly let them go? Moreover, it was me who broke her family's capital chain, so how could I possibly help her again? She was just a second-generation trust fund kid, and without her family's care, she soon became a half-human, half-ghost figure. This year, my parents brought my grandparents back to celebrate the new year together. In the happy atmosphere, I ate the dumplings from my memory later. I bought a villa and turned it into a mountain resort, which coincided with the boom in camping and outdoor activities. I made a fortune, and my parents didn't respond in the family group, but they praised me for my sharp eyesight. However, as a second-generation trust fund kid, I obviously couldn't spend all this money. I invested this money into more meaningful places to help various women in difficult situations. Some of them were victims of yellow rumors for taking out food. Some were threatened by their ex-boyfriends to release private photos, and others were girls trapped in domestic violence and couldn't fight back, including pregnant women. I provided them all with free legal aid, and gradually my charity foundation became well known. Later, there were constant media reports, and even I was named an Advanced Youth of the Year. More and more people have stood up and joined us under my inspiration and encouragement. Sunny weather, youth is now this life. I want to be independent and clear-minded. Let's walk the path of flowers together in the future.